Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Buckle up. We got a lot to get to today. AOC and Bernie Sanders had a town hall on CNN last night. Why? Why again? I mean, honestly, why are you doing, when I was at Fox, if we had a town hall, we were gearing up for an election and we'd put on the candidates and talk to them about their positions. What are these fighting the oligarchy? Did we go over her private jet and his? Here's just a sample. You won't believe who they're blaming for their party's woes.
Why does Republican messaging on social media seem so much more effective than Democratic messaging? And what can we do about it?
Because it is.
Well, that's a great question. I think the Republicans are effective. They have learned a lot about social media. And by the way, it doesn't hurt that their friends own all of the major social media platforms.
So because they have also been very clear, especially digitally, about what they believe. That women are inferior, that do not, and they do not deserve equal rights. That they believe that LGBTQ Americans are subhuman. And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them.
Let's be perfectly clear. There was indeed one party that radicalized today's young men, and it was yours, madam. It was yours. It was yours who blamed them for literally everything, just because they were born and born male. The nerve. Your side demonized them at every turn and laughed when they ever dared to express any actual pain at the circumstances that they were forced into through no fault of their own. You are absolutely disgusting to now try to turn it around and say it is the Republican Party, which came to their rescue, that, quote, radicalized them. You don't know any young Republican men. I guarantee you right now that woman knows zero Republican men because none of them would be seen with her. And for her to come out there and try to turn what she and her brethren did to them for years around it all, never mind to then blame it on the party that actually stood up for them, is the height of gall. That is infuriating. And the Republicans want to treat trans people as subhuman. It's your side that wants to take non-trans children, perfectly healthy children who may be going through normal emotional distress, and literally give them double mastectomies so that you can feel better about who you are. That's what you and your party are doing. The Republicans are standing up for minors who deserve to have adequate and healthy sexual function when they get older, who deserve to breastfeed their children, who deserve to have children and not be sterilized at age 14 by puberty blockers into cross-sex hormones, a problem with which they will deal for the rest of their lives long after you have sailed into the sunset, abuelita. So you can take a seat on lecturing the right half of the country on the dehumanization of so-called trans people. How dare you? How dare you? Okay, so we're 3 minutes into the show. Deep breaths. I had read the soundbite. I had not seen it played out. It's different when you hear it. F that woman. If she runs for president, I might run. Honestly, I'll find my way into the ticket somehow. There's no way this person can run for president or be president. No. Okay, let's keep going. There's more. There was a big 24 hours for Democratic Socialists not named AOC. The New York City mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, sadly, the man who's probably going to be the next mayor of New York, unless something very dramatic happens, was on Fox News yesterday ahead of his debate tonight. And it was pretty interesting. You know, I saw Britt Hume afterward talking about how he's very charming. You know, he's a great talker. He's very smiley. And like most snake oil salesmen, he can sell. And that's why he's leading in the polls and is probably going to be the next mayor of New York. God help us. Literally, God help us. Say a prayer for New York. And the ladies of The View, they're claiming that Republicans, the evil Republican Party that AOC says has radicalized young men into insecure masculinity, that the Republicans, they don't go on The View because they're too scared. They're afraid. They don't want to do intellectual battle with Joy Behar, who checks notes, Whoopi Goldberg. Joining me now to react to all of this, our pals from the Fifth Column podcast, Camille Foster, editor-at-large for Tangle News, Michael Moynihan, host of the Moynihan Report on Two-Way, and Matt Welsh, editor-at-large for Reason. Go subscribe now to their new YouTube channel at youtube.com/@. You got to put @ on the new YouTube addresses. It's annoying. We have to do it with our MK Media shows too. But it's youtube.com/the We the Fifth. And you will find them on the road with yours truly for the Megyn Kelly Live Tour, which starts next week. They will be with me on November 21st in Anaheim, California. It's just outside of LA. Look forward to seeing all of you there. Get tickets now if you haven't. 10 cities, 1 month, MegynKelly.com. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Football season is heating up on Prize Picks. We make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right when you make a decision can get you paid. So kick off the season right by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. With millions of users and billions of dollars awarded in winnings, Prize Picks is the place to put your takes to the test. Just pick 2 or more players across any sport, pick more or less on their projections, and if you are right, you could win big. Prize Picks is available in 40-plus states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks does not play around when it comes to your money. All transactions on the app are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code Megyn to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play just $5. That's code Megyn on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play just $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 in lineups just for playing, guaranteed. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Guys, welcome back.
Hey, Megyn. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So I was with you in your new fancy studio where you sit right now. I have to say, I feel like the kickoff went really well.
Very, very well.
It was the day drinking that really sold it. I think.
Yeah. I need to do more of that here on the MK show.
Yeah, Megyn, I thought it really loosened you up, and then I saw the first 3 minutes of this episode, and I realized that you don't need the booze. Yeah. You got it. You're ready to go.
It depends which button you want to press, but yeah, those in particular make AOC. Let's just start there. The nerve, the thing about the men is really bothering me, that it was the Republican Party that radicalized young men. I mean, I realize politicians lie, and they constantly blame the other side for their own sins. That's not a new thing. But on that issue in particular, it's just so galling, you guys. I mean, who doesn't know? You guys are men, and we all know young men. I'm talking about like 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds who feel dejected, completely disaffected by the constant messages of the last 5 years in particular, that they're to blame for everything, that they're not hireable, that they're not worthy of college admissions, that their pain doesn't matter. I'm thinking right now of my pals over on GB News and Lawrence Wright, who got into this. He's an actor in Great Britain, and they just try to cancel him at every turn because he speaks truths that are uncomfortable. And he got canceled because he was having rhetorical battle with this woman who was mocking the notion that Great Britain, which had just appointed a minister for women, should appoint a minister for men to look at the number of male suicides and attempted suicides and the spike in male anxiety and depression. And she mocked it. She thought it was a joke. She sneered at it. And he responded to her like, F you, and said something like, what kind of a man would ever want to shag that? Typical British style. His life got blown up. Lawrence Fox, I said Lawrence, right? And he's a documentary filmmaker, Lawrence Fox. He tried to stand up like for guys he knew who had committed suicide. And he was thinking of them as this woman who was like, F them, who cares about the men? we've seen that at every turn. And now this woman has the nerve. It's her party, and not just her party, but her branch of it, the wokest of the woke on the left, that caused all that shit. And was there pushback by CNN to say, no, of course. Why? I mean, are we shocked? But anyway, what do you guys make of it?
There's like 5-6 years ago when Jordan Peterson was first coming to prominence and starting to sell out arenas. I started looking into the phenomenon because it was interesting and I wanted to write about it for a reason. And I wrote about it with some criticism of him, but also it was fascinating to see how many people in media preemptively dismissed him because he had a male audience. It's as if there's a place where young men who are obviously searching in some way are gathering in preponderant numbers, then there is something kind of already inherently suspect about this. We see this with our friends Andrew Schultz and what do they call them? The podcast Dude Bros.
Bros, yeah.
And like, oh, they have a male audience. So, it's as if we all kind of understand that is a problem. That's been the overall vibe sent to sort of seeking men. And the idea from AOC that the Republican Party is sitting here thinking about how to usher young men into insecure masculinity. Can you imagine? Like Mike Johnson, yes. What do we do? I'm going to usher them into it. Doesn't even begin to make sense.
Yeah, I didn't need the internet for my insecure masculinity. I just kind of a genetic thing, I think. But no, I mean, it is, I don't know if she said this word, but I tried to watch this thing on CNN, and every time I unmuted it, it was the billionaires, and I was like, okay, it's the same script over and over again. Mm-hmm. But AOC, I mean, actually, AOC does a very good job of making Bernie look normal, because he's not he's like, I don't toxic, what are you talking? Like, yeah, I don't think that's Bernie's vibe so much. But that prefix of toxic masculinity, which became so sort of mainstream, people say that in a way as if it's a common phrase, and we all understand its meaning. There's never a toxic femininity, and I can assure you from so many experiences in my life, good Lord, is there ever? And I'm doing seminars in Anaheim in November around the show on toxic femininity. It is also a thing, but it's not a thing. It's just the way people are. But the thing is when you say this, people are radicalized online. Young men are being radicalized online. Okay, let's take that premise and say, it's true. I mean, the verb is obviously thumbing the scale. They're being radicalized. Maybe they're just being informed from a different source that they hadn't otherwise been exposed to.
Changing their politics.
Changing politics as young people do. Yep. But typically, it's a glide path from high school into college where you have the Noam Chomsky bit and you become radical. Some people stay there. Most people then become investment bankers and forget all about it. But this is kind of like the obverse of that, where people are starting at 18 years old and they're, interacting with totally different political news sources that they hadn't had before. And they're just being enlightened by them. They're being convinced by them. But the thing that she's missing, well, there's a million things she's missing, but the main one is what brings them there. Megyn, your soliloquy at the beginning of the show explains some of that, of why people get there, and they're a little overwhelmed by what happened in Me Too, what happened in 2020. They said, I don't feel that this is the country that I'm a part of. These aren't the friends that I'm a part of, these supposedly toxic people. And then there's a chorus of people out there who aren't a part of the mainstream that are speaking to them. That's a pretty fascinating thing. That's not something to denounce and say, God, we have to sort of push back on this, and they think trans people are or LGBTQ are subhuman.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Lord,
it's didn't she open the clip saying something along the lines of they said explicitly what they want to do, and then goes on to correct every single position that they have. So I guess that's how we can just kind of discount what they say. But Megyn, you were kind of outraged, but it seems like you should maybe be reassured because AOC hasn't learned anything from the.
I know. You're not wrong. I did think that, she's just going to keep losing. She's just going to keep driving even young men typically vote Democrat for the reasons Moynihan was saying, but now not in the last election and not in the next election. If this is what the Democrats took away, keep going, Camille.
Well, she wasn't the architect of every single bad idea that rose to prominence over the last couple of years, but she was certainly at the head of the parade, like championing all of these ridiculous causes. Defund the police, she was there, front and center. I remember her saying something along the lines of, "This is where our politics are right now. If you aren't with it, then you need to get the hell out of the way while we run over you and essentially impose chaos across the entire country." They have yet to apologize or even reckon with the fact that they helped to bring about their own reckoning, to use the word another way in a slightly different context. And that is the fundamental takeaway from the most recent election. One could say, Donald Trump has a mandate. Maybe. It's somewhat debatable. What you can't say, however, is that Democrats did themselves any favor over the course of the previous administrations.
Yeah. To me, the whole thing is so infuriating and it's so disingenuous and like it's not going to work. Those young men are never going to look at her and say, "Oh, okay, she gets me now." Not least of which because she's leaning in, but also she's been making a thing out of this. She thinks she's onto something. We just ran an Instagram clip of her a couple days ago where she used the same turn of phrase of insecure masculinity. Like that's what the Republicans are. That's why they're acting like men again. You're insecure if you are an actual man who doesn't cower, who doesn't feel the need to, wear a man bun, who actually has testosterone and understands that some urge toward aggression and, competition is natural and it's born with you if you're a normal man. She's turning those men off, by the millions, continues to, I guess I should say. And here's the second soundbite along those same lines. This is deeply insulting for the obvious reasons, but it's also yet another pot shot at young men in a way. Here it is, SOT 13.
Rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans. Far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
So Charlie Kirk was uneducated and ignorant, according to AOC. What could be further from the truth, right? I mean, you can take your shots at Charlie Kirk. Uneducated and ignorant are not two of them. And she goes with uneducated because he didn't go to college. That's what she actually thinks of the working class from which she hails, right? She wants us to know she's AOC from the Bronx. She's not whatever her real name is from Westchester, Sandy Cortez from Westchester. So she's got to take a dump on people who don't go to college. You're uneducated, as though that's the only way one can educate oneself in 2025 America. It's a lie. Charlie knew it was a lie. It was actually one of the things he felt most passionately about was that with all the online access we have now, Hillsdale College, et cetera, which I know he was a big fan of, their online properties, you don't need to go to college to just go and be indoctrinated into left-wing thinking. So she's such an elitist snob at the Met Gala, but she's going to wear her dress saying tax the rich, so that makes it okay. Saying she's working class Bronx, but dumping all over people who don't get a four-year college degree. She's just a hypocrite and ignorant. See, anybody who doesn't share her opinions of the world has to be ignorant. It can't be a good faith disagreement, a genuinely, felt difference of opinion. Take somebody who's without question well-educated, Michael Knowles. He shared Charlie's views, I think, on everything. I don't think there was any daylight between them. And he could make mincemeat out of AOC in any debate, as Charlie could have as well. Let's take the trans issue, right? Michael Knowles has been arguing that in the most forceful terms possible for a long, long time. Is he ignorant? Is that his problem? Or does he just have a much different view of the issue based on his own reading and research versus AOC? It's just the whole thing is diminishing, and she feels especially empowered to do it because it was a white guy, Charlie Kirk, as is Michael Knowles for that matter. Your thoughts?
I might be a little bit oversensitive to this, being a college dropout, but
you went to college, Matt. You just couldn't hack it, right?
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's interesting to use the word uneducated, isn't it? Why is it that word? Why isn't it wrong? Why isn't it ignorant? Ignorance is actually much more defensible. You could say, well, this person just somehow doesn't understand or hasn't learned a lot about the world. Okay, you were wrong about that, but that's at least an argument. Uneducated suggests that there is a fix that these people could go through by being, inert sheep, vessels to be the recipients of the transmitted virtues of the graduates from the Columbia Teachers College or something. It is crazy elitist to say such things, and it's really ironic and fun almost that AOC and Bernie Sanders, who are kind of part of the DSA wing of the party, which is ostensibly supposed to be for working people, they could be telling a story about young men in this country and having a theory of the case where they'd be able to make their socialist arguments. And that theory of the case is we have a really weird, kind of unique in the rich world problem of people of working age not working. Right. And this is disproportionately men, but not only men compared to the rest of the world. So what's your theory of the case for that? And how are you going to address it? They could do that with empathy and sympathy. They could also look at the fact that we have crazy disability policies in this country that they probably supported in many cases that people are opting into, even though they're not quite disabled. But they don't want to do that because that would call into their own things into question. But they're not doing any of that. They're instead calling you uneducated because you disagree with how they look at the world, and this is why we're seeing this kind of shift of the political demographics in this country from who is the party of the rich and who is not.
It's an amazing thing because we've given AOC far too much credit for being a skilled politician. I mean, the thing that allows AOC to have, as you pointed out, Megyn, a town hall for no one in particular, for no election in particular, just a random one, is because people in the media love her. I interviewed her the day that she won her election against Joe Crowley, I think. Yeah. And it was unbelievable. It was a local race in a district, I think. Has she been to the district yet? If she's there, we should see if she wants to have drinks. But yeah, it was amazing how much people just wanted this young, reasonably attractive person who was a bit of a socialist. And, by the way, young people not working, if you want to see where that really happens, go to socialist countries like Spain, where young people unemployment is 48, 50%. Yeah. But it's an incredible thing of how little they have learned about politics. And I just say this, as objective as I can, not in any partisan way, is that you don't do working class politics by saying things like these voters and these people who disagree with me are uneducated. And, having your, rallies at Columbia for Hamas and not mentioning hostages and things like this. This is a mile away from the average working class voter. Donald Trump, I mean, it was the thing that I had to figure out early on in 2016 of saying, and we've talked about, I think we might have even talked about it when you were on our great new YouTube show, Megyn Kelly.
Which is awesome.
Which is great. The first guest was really a real crackerjack. But when we were talking about this, and this is the thing that we discovered something in 2016. Donald Trump, the billionaire, right? Oh my God, he's talking about how rich he is. How can he connect with working class voters? It's no, well, he wasn't pretending to not be rich. Mm-hmm. He was saying, I'm a rich guy, and you guys are getting screwed because I know how the system works, and the system exists to screw people like you. Whereas all these other people that are trading stocks on the House floor are saying, as a working class person, and I'm commuter Joe Biden who gets on the Amtrak, it's not believable. With Donald Trump, it didn't have to be believable. He wasn't pretending to be somebody he wasn't. And that really resonated with people, where you have somebody talking about the working class like AOC, who is making these arguments that is, talk about polarization. It's not that you don't, we are on different sides of an issue. I'm trying to persuade you. You're fundamentally a bad person. You have these ideas that make people subhumans. You didn't even go to college. That's your problem. How the hell, after 2015 to today, we have a decade of not learning this very, very simple lesson on how to talk to voters? It's astonishing to me.
Yeah, the contrast between AOC and Bernie is really fascinating.
Actually,
I mean, she is supposed to be kind of carrying the torch for him going forward. Clearly, the cultural power center of the Democratic Party is in Mandami. It's in AOC. It's in Bernie, and it's been in Bernie for more than a decade now. But it's the younger lot that bring this kind of social justice edge along with them. And that is the thing that I think many, many voters are incredibly turned off by. The economic populism, you find that on both sides of the aisle at this point. Donald Trump has a lot of those qualities. He's pursuing a lot of policies that would ordinarily be identified with someone like a Bernie Sanders. But it's that other thing that is the problem. And is that other thing that continues to be front and center in so many of these conversations. And we're going to talk about Mandami in a little bit, but the question about Hamas and his preposterous non-response to it is just, it is mind-boggling that these people aren't willing to just lie about this stuff, at least concede
right.
your objectives,
That's right.
because that might actually help you win elections. This other thing is a total loser. You can only win by default with Donald Trump and Republicans essentially making themselves unelectable. That's the only hope that you have if you are going to maintain this course or even double down on the same stupid rhetoric that lost you the last election.
And keeping in mind the question they were asked was, why is your policies, your rhetoric not resonating with people in the way the Republicans were? Yeah. They were like, let's show exactly why that's happening.
Well, at least
anyway, you hate
I love how it's like, all their buddies own the social media. Like, is that what the Democrats are telling them? Like, I can't get anything trending because Elon owns X. Yeah, Elon wants engagement. That's all he wants. He wants Democrats logging on, Republicans logging on and staying on and retweeting things. He's not falsely helping Republican memes go viral. Republicans are doing that all on their own because they are clever. I mean, look what they did to that exact video. I'll show it now. They got their hands on the clip we just showed, and watch.
Why does Republican messaging on social media seem so much more effective than Democratic messaging, and what can we do about it?
Well, that's a great question. I think the Republicans are effective.
Sombrero is back.
I just want to point out for the record that on the Fox Business Network, we had a actually drunk Camille Foster wear a sombrero while doing a guacamole tasting contest.
How did that
Is that
show?
right?
Yeah, nothing to do with the cancellation of that show. It was great.
Well, Camille's been everywhere. I saw Camille in a clip we're running. Well, might as well get to it now. I mean, I'm not that into AOC and Bernie. You were sitting next to this lunatic white lady who's been making the rounds, saying all sorts of terrible things about whites and Republicans. Like, that's her thing. I don't know who she is. She's from the South, and she's like made her name by trying to say, like, I'm like the white racist Republican whisperer, even though she's always been a Democrat. She wants us to claim she's deep in these Republican circles and has got all the goods on the right wing. Poor Camille got dragged into this because he was sitting next to her or near her. And this happened.
I'm a white woman that has lived in a red state my entire life. And I can tell you, when I'm around white people, they test the racist water. They test it on people like you all the time. And they'll try to say off-color things.
Camille.
I put my hand up. It absolutely happens. And you're fortunate that maybe you haven't experienced this.
Can I just say, literally this August, a white person said the N-word in front of me.
This is that woman who chimed in is the one who's like, why didn't anyone ask me how I feel about, what was it, tariffs or something? I can't remember what it was. Like, because no one gives a shit. Your opinion is totally irrelevant to us. That's why. But I love your facial expression, Camille. Like, what?
Arched eyebrow.
I'm an active listener. At least I'm not trying to interrupt her.
Yeah. Like, what circles is she hanging out in? Because unlike this Jennifer Welch, I actually am surrounded by Republicans all the time, and I've never heard anybody test the water. And what does it even mean? Like, in my mind, testing the waters is like when you're trying to score drugs and you're like, you party? You know, this is how I imagine it would be done. I don't know. I've never done a drug other than booze.
Really convincing.
That's what Megyn
is that not it? I feel like that's water testing.
No, it's exactly what it is, Megyn. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, at some point in the exchange, she did kind of suggest that, you know, they may only suggest that they're joking. They're kind of telling jokes. No, they're jokes. Like, sometimes people make
they're actual jokes.
Sometimes they do that sort of thing.
What do you, like, as if there's like a circle of whites. It has to be south of the Mason-Dixon, and they get together around like the backyard barbecue, and they're like, I can't even think of what to say. All I can think of is this racist. I heard this racist story of this girl trying to get somebody to say the N-word by saying, finish this sentence, salt, and
are they going to do the entire
and then
rap
it's
song?
bad. I'm just trying to think of like, what circles is she walking around in? You know what I mean? It's like, people aren't saying that. No, they're not. How do you dip your toe in the racist water to see if other people are going to blurt out with, yeah, something super racist. Thank God you tore the label off so we can get this started.
Well, I'm going to answer this for Camille because I know he wants to go back on the show and be.
I just want to be ecumenical.
Yeah, ecumenical. I am not ecumenical. I'm always being nice about these people you're across from. Here is what happens when that happens with her. It never happens. She's making it up. Right. That does not happen. Like, this is, do you know our friend who's the famous liberal podcaster? Let's test out some racist jokes with her and see how we can go.
You know what I mean?
It's a plausible thing. It's like, well, I like your podcast, but I have a joke about some Mexicans. It's like, what? That's not happening. Goddamn, stop.
And if it is happening, you should not keep those people around. Don't invite them over anymore. Where are you hanging out? Like, that's where
right.
Well, my
how do you? I don't even, like. I'm not even sure what she's talking about. Like, what? How are they even edging up to it? Like, she's such a lunatic. It could be like, anyone want some watermelon? She's like, oh, here it goes. They're back at it. No, actually, there's watermelon and hot dogs in the backyard. Help yourself. I'm just saying, like, she's a lunatic. This person. Here she is with Cory Booker, of whom she's not a fan. Here, watch.
There are votes that you've made that were heartbreaking to me, like the vote for Kushner. That really pissed me off. This administration, It's not, are they fascist? They are fascist. It's not, we're on the precipice of fascism. Texas is sending troops to Illinois. I feel like the opposition needs to be fuck no across the board. We're not giving you a centimeter. And you're one of them that's kind of been disappointing to me because we podcasted before. They're serious about Project 2025. They're going to do all this shit. What do you have to say about the capitulation that you've participated in and where the Democratic Party is right now?
Well, first of all, I would say very
white
pointedly
women don't get to talk to black men like that.
One of the things I dislike about the Democratic Party is that we do a circular firing squad all the time. Their party, they disagree. There's wild disagreements in the Republican tent, and yet they don't shoot at each other. And we have a really good way of holding up these purity tests that if I agree with you on 95...
That's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. They fire at each other all the time. Trump has sent so many people out to pasture.
That lady's out of line. You're not allowed to talk to a black man like that. I've been told, put on my listening ears, take a beat, and maybe be quiet before you tell a black person that they're wrong.
Two black men like that in a week. Camille,
she was very polite.
And that Booker guy,
she was very polite. You know that the clip actually makes me think about, though, Megyn, is something else that came up during that same CNN appearance, which I'm very curious about your perspective on, to not change topics, but maybe expand it a little bit here. Yeah. Why aren't, or do you think it would be feasible for Democrats to try and work with the administration on various immigration issues to perhaps try and find a way to more peaceably execute these deportations? Do you think that the administration might be open to that? Do you think that that might be a constructive move for Democrats? I mean, I've often heard people reflect on the fact that Barack Obama deported lots and lots of people, way more people than
that was
Trump
in the town hall.
But the fact that he managed to do that without deploying the National Guard actually seems really important too. And maybe Democrats could build some bridges, could actually build up some equity amongst voters and show their reasonableness on an issue that a lot of Americans are actually fine with respect to
assumes facts, not in evidence.
But do you think if Democrats were to reach out, that there might be an opportunity for them to work with the administration?
I definitely think Trump would. Trump would 100% work with them. He's so bipartisan. Like he would be like great. He loves counting these wins and being like, see, this person and I were together. Look at the prison reform he did in Trump 1.0. That was with Van Jones. I mean, he's totally fine working with people across the aisle. It's the Democrats who won't do it. It is. Let me give a simpler case. Husband and wife get divorced. They fight like animals toward each other. They're the nastiest two humans can be to one another, notwithstanding the fact that they have children with whom they need to share custody and, split time and drop them off and pick them up and see each other. and they turn the kids against each other, and they know it's very damaging for the children to pass negative messages through them to the other one, but they do it. They fight in front of them, and the judge or the custodial guardian ad litem will say, please, please, please. It's like Judge Judy used to say, you have to love your child more than you hate your spouse. Please behave better. And they can't do it. Why? Because their emotions run so high toward this person. It's a hatred. Or like, I can't help myself. That's how they feel. They can't, even for their beloved child, they can't get it in check. And that is the Democrats and Donald Trump. Like, I've had so many Democrats say to me, it's like a relationship with Hitler or, one of his top lieutenants, where your character is defined and will forever be defined on whether you stood up. So there's no working with, there's no calming down and, getting yourself out of that trance. Same way the husband and wife can't do it, neither can these Dems. They will not be working with him. That's my take.
I think also, though, there is immigration enforcement is a presidential issue at this point. It is the executive, starting really with Barack Obama when he did DACA, which was a huge executive power grab. I'm going to just say these 4 million people are exempt from immigration enforcement.
He had his pen and his phone.
Well, Donald Trump has used the pen and phone more than any president since FDR and bragged about it. And he keeps getting larger and larger mock pens to do this. But presidents are enforcing law. And so there's less actual material for Congress to work with a president on this. And meanwhile, this president is enforcing law in a pretty aggressive way. He's deploying ICE against the wish, or deploying the National Guard against the wish of mayors and governors. And ICE is out there doing very, very aggressive raids in masks, oftentimes, or at least enough that we've seen on video footage of American citizens in many cases. And so, of course, Democrats in those cities are going to react negatively to it and not going to be thinking like, this is the time for bipartisan immigration reform. That's just not how that's going to work.
But I think to Megyn's
point,
they
have to wear the masks. They're getting doxxed, and there are actually bounties out on them now. You'd be an insane person to be an ICE officer. Now, you don't think what? Yes, they do. Easy for you to say.
It's true. It's easy for me to say.
Easy for you to say. You're not risking your life every day, actually just trying to clean up Joe Biden's mess with children at home. And these people literally putting a bounty on your head. They are actually putting bounties on their heads. That literally just happened with these gangs. And the head of the Border Patrol just had a $10,000 bounty put on his head. It goes up to $50,000 now. Why wouldn't they wear a mask? They don't need to show their face. They know it's ICE. They're armed. They're wearing ICE jackets. They just don't need to show what their particular face looks like.
Yeah, I, just on the issue of the kind of bipartisanship, to your point, Megyn, it's funny because what you're referencing is just happened in the clip that you showed. This woman, that weird skeletal woman who was talking.
Have a burger. You'll be happier.
I'm trying to describe. I don't like when people don't look healthy. It's just me, okay? I'm for women. I am not a toxic man. I'm for women. What does she say in that deranged soliloquy that is supposed to be a question? She says, and this is how you prevent people from working together, to Megyn's point, is you say that it's not as if we're on the precipice of fascism. We are in full fascism. That if this dummy had any idea what fascism actually was, would mean that she didn't have a show in which she talked to an opposition politician, which doesn't happen in fascism, dummy.
I mean, the fascism is just evident by appointing Jared Kushner. That's obvious.
Yeah, you mean Kushner, Jared Kushner.
I don't even know what she's talking about. Like Jared, how did he appoint Jared Kushner? He just helped find peace in the Middle East. She's upset about it.
I mean, good Lord. I mean, if I want to get in trouble amongst a certain precinct of my friends, is my unreserved praise for Jared Kushner and what he did with the Abraham Accords. And this time around, too, give the guy some credit. They mocked him for saying, I read 25 books on the Middle East. Maybe you guys should read 26. Because
they were the right books. Wait, I've got one more Jennifer Welch for you. I got one more for you. Speaking, that's the lady. That's the undernourished lady, angry lady, apparently with all the racist friends. You tell me, this sounds a little racist too from her. She's ripping on J.D. Vance. I believe this is because he was like, those guys, those so-called young Republicans who had the racist text chain with the ridiculous comments that was outed yesterday by Politico. JD Vance was like, I'm not going to get my pearl. I'm not going to start clutching pearls over these guys when we've got a Virginia Attorney General candidate who's literally calling to put 2 bullets in the head of Republicans and their children. And the other side says nothing. Here she is talking about that with Chris Hayes on Wednesday.
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you or anything to do with you?
She's mad that JD didn't get offended more by a bunch of 22-year-old knuckleheaded losers in some text chain, private amongst them, saying racist things. She's mad he didn't stand up for his brown wife and his mixed race children as their knight in shining armor because Usha Vance needs to be protected from all of her Supreme Court clerkships. I mean, like, they can't understand a world in which a person is like, it's whatever. I don't need to comment on every stupid comment that's made by somebody in my party. However, you Democrats do need to comment in the Virginia race involving one particular candidate who is on the record as admitting to having said he wants Republicans to die along with their children. Seems like a much bigger deal. Why do these Democrats always do this? They always bring up the fact that he has a mixed race children and an Indian wife to somehow require more of JD Vance.
Yeah, actually, she mentioned the same stuff during that appearance on CNN that we had together as well, and used this phrase like his brown children, which during the appearance, I actually suggested that was probably not appropriate and was something that she should avoid. But I do also think that JD, right to call out the hypocrisy, as you just highlighted as well, but his comments about this have not been particularly good. And he entered into this fray voluntarily on X, didn't do it in a particularly eloquent way. And then the next day further compounds the problem for himself by commenting on it further, saying things like, I will tell my kids not to post things online because if you post things online, that's very bad for you. No, that's not really it, JD. The issue isn't that they are posting things online. It's that they are posting deplorable things in this secret group chat. And it seems that some of the people in that group chat might have been a bit older, not kids, as he continued to characterize it. And there might have even been elected officials who were in this group chat. I don't know. My suspicion is that a lot of this is precisely what you would expect to happen in these clandestine signal groups, like people just kind of shit talking and doing all sorts of other locker room talk. Maybe some of these people have authentically nefarious, awful beliefs. But what you can say in a context like that, if you are J.D. Vance, one of the standard bearers of the Republican Party, a party that does have some material challenges with respect to actual racist sentiments that are bubbling up in our polity right now.
Totally disagree with that, Camille. It's the Democrats who are the racists. Republicans do not have that problem. Maybe the Republicans of some years ago, I don't know what you're referring to, but today's Republicans are signing on, in particular, young black men like there's no tomorrow. It's black women who vote Democrat. But it's the Democrats who divide us by race nonstop and try to tell us we're one thing because of this color of our skin.
I think you are right that overt race essentialism is the unique kind of bailiwick of Democrats right now. But there is a version of that has become more prominent on the right. Nick Fuentes, who we talked about the other day, who has
He's not on the right. I don't know what he is.
I think he would characterize himself that way. At a minimum, he's kind of in orbit around the right. And I wouldn't say that.
I don't think that's true. Who does he like? He hates Trump. He doesn't like Trump. He hates J.D. Vance. He was singing Gavin Newsom's, I don't watch Nick Fuentes, but I see the reports on him on X. He was singing Gavin Newsom's praises, like full-throated praises. I think the reason he likes Gavin Newsom, according to what X told me, is he's white and he's got a white wife and he's got white kids. And he doesn't like the fact that JD is, got in this mixed marriage, whatever. So it's like, he's not of the right. I don't know what he is, but he is not of the right. Keep going.
Well, I don't know how we want to position him, but I will. Let me offer this in terms of what JD could have said. Right? JD could have said, the issue here is that the people in this group were saying deplorable things. And the deplorable things that they were saying, it's not just that they were racist or that they used the N-word. They were degrading people because they suggested that their dignity was not a function of their humanity. Those are fundamental,
I get
essential
that.
values.
Okay,
that
I
all
get that. I get
Americans
it.
You can
Here's
say
the
that
problem.
while also highlighting the hypocrisy of the other side, as opposed to just dismissing actual problem.
I get it, but you got to understand the mindset that we're all in right now. I mean, like I think those of us on the right, in particular, who are close with Charlie, and JD Vance was among them. He's the one who just brought back his friend's fucking corpse on Air Force Two, and I had been with JD at the White House the day this story broke, and he tweeted, like, I'm not going to pearl clutch over this, when we were all hugging Erica Kirk, who was in tears as she accepted posthumously Charlie's Presidential Medal of Freedom. The mindset right now is you cheered when our friend basically got his head blown off. You cheered, you laughed, you made memes out of it and T-shirts showing it. I guarantee you some cretins are going to make it into a costume. And I don't have any time or tolerance for you saying you didn't like comments in what was supposed to be some private chat between a bunch of losers who I don't know if there were elected officials in there, but I've been following the story. No elected official has been accused of saying anything racist in that thread. It's the chair and the vice chair of something called Young Republicans, which I don't even totally understand. In all my years covering politics, I've never heard of them. A lot of groups call themselves like Young this, Young that. It doesn't mean that they represent all of that party in America. So I can see why he did it. He was basically like, don't fucking lecture me on how we're supposed to be talking in a way that's more genteel and not offensive. I am not here for it.
Yeah, I would say that there's a couple things about that. There's one opportunity here for a conversation. I don't want to say what somebody should tweet or not. I mean, my advice is to elected officials is just don't tweet. It's just never a good idea to tweet. I've learned that lesson myself. But I mean, there is certainly
next stop, what you say on the air.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I got a timeshare in Greenland, and I think that's the only salvation for the things I think. And by the way, I want to say our group chat is very racist towards Camille, and he's on it. Yeah. And so I think it's kind of hypocrisy for me to denounce it when I don't say the N-word, but I say some other stuff.
Yeah. You do occasionally.
Yeah, a couple times I've said it directly.
Oh, by the way, I'll give you back the floor, but by the way, I just printed this out. You know, Hunter Biden, hold on. Hunter, in the laptop and the text that nobody would publish, refers to his attorney, George Maziras, as the N-word repeatedly. N-I blank blank A, you better not be charging me whatever rates. He goes on and he says it repeatedly. I don't remember. Where were all the Democrats condemning this Republican chat when Hunter Biden was using the N-word over and over and over and over?
I think that's the N-I-G-G-A. So it's like, as in my nigga.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm giving Biden. He's been trying to get us to say this.
He's trying to get us to say that.
But that we all could. I think if we did that, we completely disarm actual racists. Yeah. We should just do it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm telling you to do it right
now. What Jennifer Welch thinks. I've literally never heard anybody utter that word, even with the A at the end, in my presence. I've seen it on TV. Open up the Bad News Bears from like 1977. You get every single one from like, oh my God. Like we tried to watch it with our kids. We were like, mute.
Smoking and being racist, which is like a Little League team where
in the remake they just changed it to sort of anti-Armenian. Which is funny.
Because it's something we can all support.
Given the Kardashian factor. I think I interrupted you, Moynihan, so I apologize. Keep going.
Look, I was just saying that I think that there is a legitimate conversation to be had, and this is nothing to do with JD Vance. I don't think this is like the sort of province of JD Vance, something he should have a conversation about. But there's a legitimate conversation to be had about what the right is in this kind of Groyper phenomenon. Mm-hmm. It is a thing. Like if we can talk about, the people that get out there and praise the death of Luigi Mangione, the killing of the executive by Luigi Mangione. I mean, this is not a majority of people, but enough to go down there and cheer at a courthouse, right? Nick Fuentes was at January 6th, and I think he was wearing a MAGA hat that day. He's been disaffected from Donald Trump because Donald Trump has been very pro-Israel. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like JD Vance because his wife is Indian, because he's a racist. I mean, mean, this is a pretty straightforward thing. It's not like have to do some Kremlinology here, but there are those, if you want to have the conversations about the radicalization of young men, that's an insane conversation in the way they're having it, but there is a small group of people who are being introduced to conservative politics in a 4chan, 8chan way that is troubling, and you see a lot of it on
vice signaling.
And it's just like, it's and there's a part of this where people started saying the word retarded a lot more and just saying it constantly to say how this is how transgressive I am. That's actually gotten to a place where people use racial slurs for the same reason. I don't know if they're racist, but they just say it because that's the transgressive things. There's a conversation there that's interesting, but it's never the one that we're having because it's trying to say, destroy this group is racist or this group is not racist, whatever. There is a serious conversation to be had about some of these outer precincts in the horseshoe theory of far right, far left, and what they mean to the movements of the both.
I got to take a break, but when I think about 4chan and the groups I think about lying in wait Democrat killers. That's what I think is happening over there. I'm not worried about racial slurs by a bunch of losers who feel empowered by saying them. I'm worried about Trans-Tifa getting their next victim and assassination planned, because that's what we're actually seeing off of those discussion forums. It's deeply troubling. But stand by. There's more right after this. Ever notice those creepy ads that pop up on your phone and seem to know exactly where you've been and what you've bought and even what you've been talking about? You've probably wondered, is my phone listening to me? The truth is, every day, without your knowledge or consent, your smartphone is listening to you, and it's leaking a detailed record of your life. Personal information like your location, your habits, your interests, even the people you communicate with. It's funneled into an invisible marketplace where it is tracked, analyzed, and sold to the highest bidder. But the smartphone by Unplugged is different. With a built-in firewall, the smartphone by Unplugged blocks apps from tracking your every move, and it even shows you in real time which apps are trying to access your data. If your phone is ever lost or stolen, an emergency reset instantly wipes your data. And with the battery disconnect button, you can cut off all tracking from cell towers. It's time to demand technology that works for you, not for big tech. No tracking, no exploitation, no manipulation. Built for you, not for them. Available for $989, $989, or with easy monthly payments at unplugged.com/MK. We are going on the road. Megyn Kelly Live, 10 stops across the country. Join me for no BS, no agenda, and no fear live. I'll be joined by Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Glenn Beck, Adam Carolla, Charlie Sheen, Piers Morgan, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Erica Kirk. And I cannot wait to see all of you. Please go, and please, if you can, sign up for the VIP meet and greet so that you can meet me in person and the guest as well. I would just love to hear from you guys on what's on your mind, what you like about the show, what you would like to change, and just for us to connect in what's been a difficult time. To send a message that we will not be silenced. It's Megyn Kelly Live, presented by Y Refi and SiriusXM. Go to MegynKelly.com to get your tickets now. Back with me now, the guys from The Fifth Column, and you will hear them on the road with me for the Megyn Kelly Live Tour, which starts next week. They will be with me on November 21st in Anaheim, California. Get tickets now. It's definitely going to be fun and feisty. And it might have to involve some of that Irish whiskey. You can get the tickets at MegynKelly.com right now. I can't wait to see all of you. Seriously, if you're in Texas in particular, go buy a ticket because we start there next weekend. And then we head west with our pals from The Fifth Column, among many others. Okay. I wanted to do one more soundbite from the AOC Bernie interview before we completely move on from that, because it was kind of interesting and maybe potentially telling, and it was on the subject of whether she's going to challenge Chuck Schumer in his next senatorial bid. Here it is.
But are you saying that Senator Schumer should not be worried about a primary challenge from you?
No.
Let me jump in on this one. This is what
we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
This is what we're talking about.
You have a country that is falling apart. We had a housing crisis, a healthcare crisis, an education crisis, massive income and wealth inequality, a corrupt campaign finance system, and the media says, "Oh, you're going to run. What are you going to run for?" Nobody cares. She'll run more towards
nobody cares. It's the House Speaker and President Trump and the Vice President saying it.
All right.
Pardon?
Well, of course, they're saying it to deflect attention away from the real issue.
Exactly.
And here, let me tell you what the real issue is. Let's see if CNN talks about it.
And you'll just have to wonder because we cut the soundbite too early. Okay.
Billionaire.
Why it was about healthcare, but why such an adverse reaction to the subject of whether she's going to challenge Chuck Schumer in a primary bid?
She kind of had that blush, didn't she? That the first thing before she started gesticulating wildly.
Again, listen back to, I thought she said no at the beginning and then spun that into something else.
She did say no, but she might have been saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. So
I mean,
right.
When you say this, when you do this, well, this is what the media does. This is the problem. It's not. It's actually, that is the problem with politicians. It's a totally sensible question. It's a question that New Yorkers want to know, that people that are interested in politics want to know, that America would like to know about. It's a totally reasonable question. And the deflection is here to say, well, there's other things happening in the world that are bad. Can you not walk and chew gum?
Yeah, but
do not have two questions we can talk about. And they do talk about, because I watched that damn thing. They do talk about healthcare. They do talk about all these other things. Is it what is wrong with asking that question? That is a complete ridiculous, what about
the safest politics in America is being mad at the media.
This is true.
Yeah, because Americans hate the media more than they hate even their own lives. Yeah. Or actually, they love their own lives. They hate the media.
The Democrats don't hate the media.
Democrats hate the media too.
Bernie does.
The populist side, right? Populism, there's a reason why Bernie and Trump both kind of rose up at the same time. And that part of the Democratic Party has always had something against the media. I covered the Ralph Nader campaign in 2000 when he got 2.7% of the vote. He was against the oligarchs in the media and the corporate media this and the corporate media that. Every single day, he wouldn't stop talking about it. And it's popular because people do feel alienated from the media. I think their analysis of the media has been absolutely wrong for a really long time. And they will say with a straight face that the media is run by Republicans and corporate lobbies. And they've been saying that for 30 years. They're wrong, but it's a popular message. You can always blame it. I was once moderating a Libertarian Party debate, God help me, like presidential debate. I know, back in like 2016 or something. And one of the candidates just decided, and he's a guy I know, and am friendly with, but he decided to take a perfectly normal question like, would you abolish everything? And then sure, that's the problem with the media. And then afterwards, he's just sort of like sheepishly like, I got to do that.
The problem with the media is they don't pay attention. I'll give an example of this on the kind of left version of this is John Oliver, who is apparently a comedian, but he has a show on HBO. And he did a whole piece on my friend Barry Weiss the other day. And in the lead up to
it was so dishonest. Keep going.
Oh, horrible. But in 10 minutes, he's like, the corporate media. And he talks about Jeff Bezos and the guy who owns the LA Times now, Patrick, whatever his name is.
Soon-Shiong.
Yeah, Soon-Shiong, and he's been on your show. He's a bit maha. Jeff Bezos, who's nobody's idea of a conservative, but he's been, say, let's make the editorial page of the Washington Post, free minds and free markets, like reason. So now he's in the sights of people like this. But it's like, I was thinking, watching this, have you never heard of Carlos Slim? Have you never heard of any of these other billionaires who have taken over media corporations? And the reason now that they're re-spinning this is that, well, they're becoming a little bit disaffected, and you have people bringing Barry Weiss in to shake it up. CBS, the third place in the ABC, CBS, NBC ratings sweepstakes for news, and that terrifies them. So now they're turning all the guns on the media because the owners in their, I think this is a completely demented worldview, are people that are nominally of the right. This is our territory. We get to own the media, not you guys. When we do, and that's, and Bernie Sanders, one obvious thing that is so damn obvious that you don't even notice it. And he's like, is CNN going to talk about this? And it's like, you're on You're on CNN. Listen, why is it
Moynihan, you're very good at the imitations. Yeah, we've noticed this before. But you're very talented at that. Here's what's really bothering now. Okay, so first of all you saw for the listening audience was extreme physical discomfort. Like, she got the hands above the midline immediately. He jumped in to save her. Clearly, they both knew that she did not want to talk about primarying Chuck Schumer, and that if that were to come up, he was going to run in to save her. He was a little asleep at the switch, so she got really uncomfortable. She doesn't want to talk about it, which suggests she's going to do it. either that or a presidential run. I don't know. But for whatever reason, she really didn't want to talk about it and wasn't able to deftly handle it like any politician can when they get asked a question that they don't want to answer. That's, a day ending in Y, that it should be. But on the subject of like why they're getting so upset about these media buys, maybe this has something to do with it. I'm trying to find our pal Harry Enton. He's on my very long sought list someplace. I'm searching. There we go. Okay, SOT 3. I started on the wrong page. Yeah, SOT 3. Maybe this has something to do with it.
You go back to April, Kate Baldwin. What were we looking at? Well, we were looking at the Democrats with a very clear shot of taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives, according to the Kalshi prediction market odds. We saw them at an 83% chance. But those odds have gone plummeting down. Now we're talking about just a 63% chance, while the GOP's chances up like a rocket, up like gold, up from 17% to now a 37% chance. Back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018. You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I think a lot of folks like myself are looking at this. We're seeing, hey, wait a minute. Those national polls Democrats are not gaining the way that we expected. Then you add in the fact that the state legislators are adding potentially more GOP seats like they've already done down in Texas, like they've done in Missouri. And then you add in the potential gutting of the VRA, and all of a sudden it becomes much more difficult for Democrats to gain.
So that's a long way of saying they would like to blame the media for their newfound electoral problems. It's got to be the evil media getting bought up by all these Republicans as opposed to us and our own messages that are tone deaf and off point and driving people away and have rendered the Democratic Party the worst thing one can be, which is totally uncool.
It's amazing to be in the position that they're in right now and not having a huge structural advantages, right? Like the president always loses ground in the midterms. It's unless you are Bill Clinton and it's you're in the middle of an impeachment process in your second term, which sort of creates a boomerang effect. And the averages are staggeringly high. Donald Trump is a divisive, polarizing politician who his numbers never go too low, but they never go too high either. And he's been around for a long time. And there can be people who like him and they just have Trump fatigue enough already with all the craziness. It's incredibly favorable atmosphere for which them to run, and they're doing this not greatly. I think it's incredibly damning of where Democrats are right now.
You got Trump fatigue, but you've also got resistance fatigue. I think a lot of people are exhausted by the hyperbolic rhetoric about fascism is coming, even while you're seeing these somewhat controversial policies where the National Guard gets deployed in Illinois, and you've got this No King's Day response, and there's scenes of tear gas. There are these scenes of people being grabbed up in courthouses and various other places. Like it's charged. You would actually expect it to have more repercussions, perhaps to show up in the polling a little bit more. The Democrats,
people are in favor of it.
They're not doing anything, and they are still losing ground. It's very strange.
The people, to make a point, people are in favor of it, and the kind of those momentary scenes come and go. I think one of the things you can't underestimate is that we saw a lot of polling about how Democrats and how Republicans, particularly young Democrats and Republicans, were moving away from Israel on when it came to foreign policy. That ultimately doesn't matter when you see what happens with the hostages being released, Donald Trump speaking in front of the Knesset, world leaders praising him, everybody in Israel praise the man, by the way, who is, he has dinner with Nick Fuentes as an anti-Semite, and there's a big image of him on the beach of Tel Aviv that he can see flying in on Air Force One. I mean, God, these Jews in Israel have really misunderstood this anti-Semite that they're cheering and wearing MAGA hats. It's like, I kind of trust them.
He's such a bad anti-Semite. Trump sucks at anti-Semitizing.
Oh my God, he's the worst anti-Semite of all time in the way that he's not good at it. Don't take that out of context, people. But the thing about you see he's the worst anti-Semite. Good Lord. Just flip it there. But no, the amazing thing to me is you have somebody on TV, and this pains me to say this, but you have AOC and Bernie Sanders. And Bernie is the guy that could do it. AOC is the one who can't, because the first clip we saw of AOC is exactly why. Is she going to run for president, et cetera? She can't. And the reason she can't is the thing that pains me to say is Americans, unfortunately for us libertarian types, they love economic populism. They love this stuff. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about how we're kicking people off of healthcare, and she's, drifting away from, even further away from that former version of like Reaganite conservatism, which was free market, et cetera. But the problem is they're saddled by this cultural policy.
Right.
AOC cannot get away with it. You see the Zoran Mamdani doing like a run for Gaza, on like October 8th or something, and saying that, I don't want to, I'm the mayor of New York. It's like, you're running for Gaza. Like, what? You care about these issues? These are issues that are not popular amongst like a broad swath of people because they're too extreme. I mean, when she's talking about men and the toxicity and blah, 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 you can't be president by it. If you just did the Bernie thing, that is how Democrats could gain ground. Harry would be showing different numbers.
Yeah, and this plays up also to Virginia, right? I mean, you have a gubernatorial race there that is now getting saddled with AOC-like culture war issues that it absolutely does not need to be.
Complete cell phone.
It's a complete cell phone. Yeah. It's not hard to say, no, I'm against this. You shouldn't like fantasize about the death of people, and we shouldn't have in high schools or junior high schools people who were born male in a female locker room. That's not a hard, straightforward.
Did you guys see that setup that the Dems tried to do on Winsome Sears yesterday, and it completely backfired on them? So the Democratic Party of Virginia tweeted out at Winsome Earl Sears, saying Sears must call on these young Republicans implicated in the racist text scandal to step down from their positions. And Winston Sears retweeted it with a response that read, "Easy, they absolutely must step down. Now it's your turn, Abigail." I mean, just such a burn. So good. They did not see that.
Winsome.
Right?
So we're yelling that because Winsome is Jamaican like Camille. So
well, I'm an American. I was born here.
Yeah.
But
she nailed it. And Abigail Spanberger has still not withdrawn her endorsement of the I love murdering Republican children, Jay Jones, but so make me Attorney General. Instead, the Democrats want to talk about these young Republicans in that text thread. Okay. Let's keep going. I do want to get to Mamdani. That's coming up. But since we touched on Democrat messaging and how they just kind of keep resorting to hysterics about Trump, like that's going to work, they haven't learned that lesson either from 2024. They had ratcheted up the fascism and the Hitler accusations, to an 11. They lost. They're still at it. Here's Bradley Whitford, who played top presidential aide on the West Wing. And I'm telling you, it's like Yul Brynner. We learned in American musical theater, the course I took when I was in 10th grade, that I made my high school boyfriend take with me. And he was captain of the football team, and he never forgave me for making him sit through everything. West Side Story, The King and I. It was wonderful. Anywho, as we learned about Yul Brynner in that class, he got into like some temporary delusion after playing the King in The King and I, and like for a period really thought he was the king. And that is what's happened to Bradley Whitford. I'm sorry to tell you. He played a top presidential aide in the West Wing, and now he thinks he is a political expert. He offered some of that expertise on The View yesterday, and obviously was cross-examined super hard by the fact-based Joy Behar. Let's take a look at how that went in SOT 22.
And right now, public servants are under attack. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's been politicized in a way that is unprecedented. Correct. I am living in a world where we have internment camps.
Yes.
Where in my community, people are jumping out of vans, and people going through a legal asylum process are being taken away without charges. And the thing that's very upsetting to me right now, and we're giving these internment camps funny names.
Yeah.
Like there's some fun to be had in the inhumanity of it all. It's a very strange time for me.
It's a disgrace, really. It's
a
disgrace.
Yeah, it's a disgrace.
Okay. So there are internment camps. I mean, I didn't know that. I thought Alligator Alcatraz was a place we were putting illegals who we were arresting and about to deport in a place where we could manage them humanely before they had to ship right on out of here. Alligator Alley actually is, or Alcatraz is actually kind of nice compared to a lot of the prisons where they'd normally go, if you want to know the truth. There's no internment camps here. And the notion about as they're going through a legal asylum process, okay, in the same way Joe Biden can say, come on in, we may give you asylum, go through the process. The next president can say, we're not going to. Your process has ended, goodbye. That is okay to do. There's no obligation on the part of President Trump to see that through to the end. He can make a summary decision. Actually, I totally disagree with that policy. We are not granting 10,000, 30,000 Haitians asylum. After all, we have enough. So the rhetoric hasn't calmed down. I'm going to give you one more, and then I'll toss it to you guys. Here it is, SOT 23.
Thinking about my dad a lot. He died a long time ago. He would be over 100 years old, 110.
Wow.
He fought in World War II when fascism was on the rise. Yep. He was, on a minesweeper with torpedoes coming at him.
He was Antifa.
He was Antifa. Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh my God.
He would wear a frog costume and he'd be outside of the courthouse. Nice.
Your father would be in Portland.
I cannot shake this sense. Like Megyn, we love coming on the show. We enjoy all of our various conversations with you.
Coming on.
There's no but. There's no but here. Is it the view? We have agreements. We've had sustained disagreements. We've discussed all of these various policy choices that are being made, et cetera, et cetera. What we try not to do in those conversations is engage in the kind of hysterics that he was engaging in.
Yeah.
Like the inflamed language, like everything is on 10. Everything is the worst imaginable thing. Like this episode of the Megyn Kelly Show is actually an opportunity for Democrats. Just watch this. Just pay attention to what's being said here. All of the things that you're doing that are harming, you don't have to do them. You could make your counter arguments. You could make your case without resorting to absolute absurd nonsense.
You don't think they know this?
I don't think they know it because they keep doing this, unless what they secretly want is for MAGA to win forever.
I am like offended by the frequency with which people abuse the historical record by saying things that, like, let's even be nice to them and say, at this table, as you well know, Megyn, we have a lot of disagreements with Trump and the way he handles things, et cetera. But the idea that this is fascism, that is something that I have been arguing against, and I get these emails all the time. Such and such a bad thing happens. Oh, do you think it's fascism now? No, I don't, as a matter of fact, because fascism was a very real thing. And what they're trying to provoke is an idea of Adolf Hitler. And I have a picture on my phone. I was on the subway the other day because I'm a working class hero and I take the subway and get harassed by people all the time. Nice. And there was a woman across from me who had a button on that had a picture of Trump facing Hitler. And it was just like this 65-year-old Upper East Side woman who had a picture of Hitler. And it said, continue the resistance. I can show it to you. I think I sent it to you guys, this picture of but this kind of rhetoric, internment camps. By the way, I wish the people of The View would have been asked the follow-up question. What do you guys think of FDR? Yeah. You a big fan of FDR?
Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah. Who was responsible for the internment camps?
Who put that idea into our heads?
It was FDR.
It was Trump.
Yeah.
Sorry. But this idea that we're at fascism, where you can say that there are authoritarian instincts, fine. Fascism is a very distinct thing. And I think it's an insult to all of the people that survived fascism, that actually fought real fascism, paid with their lives. And the comparison is not even in the same universe.
No,
and
Trump is a lot like Hitler. It's just that he's saving the Jews instead of killing them. But other than that, they're the same.
But it's a big smoke screen. Yeah. Get them all in one place. That's what he's
right. But he would save 6 million if he could. That's how much of a fascist he is. It really is looking in the mirror image of Hitler. He's trying to save all those Jewish lives and make Israel a safe place for decades. And that's why we have to wear buttons condemning him. Hold on. There's one more that we have to play according to my team. Oh, yeah. Do we really? I'm so over him.
Yeah, we do.
I'm not going to do it.
I don't know who it is, but we do.
All right. I'll do. I just think he does this all the time. SOT 20.
The original No Kings protest was 250 years ago. Americans decided they didn't want to live under the rule of King George III. They declared their independence and fought a bloody war for democracy. We've had 2.5 centuries of democracy since then, often challenging, sometimes messy, always essential. And we've fought in 2 world wars to preserve it. Now we have a would-be king who wants to take it away. King Donald I. Fuck that.
Why does he think it's going to work this time?
I'm glad that that we like 1776 again, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
We had a whole 5-year span there where that wasn't the real founding of the country. The real founding is when we started slavery here, and all politics has been downstream from that. And 1776 was a hypocritical lie, and we never really meant it. And just look at all the slaveholders who did X, Y, and Z. The Revolutionary War is awesome. The Declaration of Independence is awesome. I hope everyone's got quincentennial fever as much as I do. And I'm not unhappy at all that they're calling their protest No Kings. I don't like kings either. And if that's getting you back in touch with your 1776ness, if, for example, you would from this lesson that, hey, maybe when my party has the presidency, we will also give the president less power because then he will abuse it in ways that George Washington wouldn't have liked. I would love that to be a conclusion. It's not going to be a conclusion at all. But I will take baby steps towards the direction of actually being happy and proud of the American founding and trying to be rejuvenated by it. I think we all can benefit.
Hey, I've never heard the Democrats tout the First Amendment as much as they did in the wake of Kimmel. So great. And you know, it does support the theory that they have to have it done to them in order for them to get back in line on our shared common principles, like free speech. But wait, I want to read you what Trump said about these No Kings. So the audience knows these Democrats are organizing these left-wing groups like the ACLU and MoveOn.org and Human Rights Campaign are organizing these No Kings protests. They tried to do it in June. They had about 1,700. Now they're doing it again. They have about 2,200 people across the country having these rallies. I just hope they keep their clothes on. We've seen some in Portland where they're naked on bike. I was just going to say that's got dangers.
In Portland.
Yeah.
It's just, that's dangerous for both sides. There's no good outcome for women or men in going naked on a bike. Okay. But here's what Trump says. A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place. But thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job, all.
That is incredibly funny. But to Matt's point, I think it's a really, really important point of that, particularly going through that whole kind of 1619 era, which was a long era for people who live in certain states and went to certain universities, that this idea that America has been one long uninterrupted string of indignities and horrors visited upon X group, the love of the country, that everything has been great, according to Robert De Niro, until now. It's like, good Lord, that's like a Paul Johnson version of American history rather than a Noam Chomsky one. And just one small point, we didn't save democracy in World War I. We shouldn't have been there. That was a big mistake. But World War II was great, but big mistake in World War I. But getting back to that idea that there's something worth saving, but the problem is they don't believe any of this shit. And the second it's no longer relevant to the points that the protests they're having, the points that they're making, they're going to go back to saying that this country has that original sin and it can never get beyond it, which is the thing that frustrates me.
I've got to play now Ketanji Brown Jackson from the Supreme Court argument yesterday. I don't know if you guys watched any of this, but there was a very good update in our morning update, our AM update show today on what happened at SCOTUS yesterday. And if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend it. Take 3 minutes of your time to listen to that piece of the show, which is only 15 minutes long to begin with. But long story short on this case that was just argued yesterday, comes out of Louisiana. Louisiana has 6 representatives. They had one district that was majority black, and there was a lawsuit saying somehow that's racist. We're 1/3 of the population in Louisiana, said a bunch of black complainants, and we shouldn't only have one district. This is illegal race discrimination under the Voting Rights Act. that case wound its way up. The courts said, you know what, this is racist. You have to create another district. So they created two majority black districts in Louisiana. Then non-black, which I guess is just everybody who's, white or Hispanic or Asian, whatever, non-black complainants filed their own lawsuit saying, this is bullshit. Why did we create a second district just for black people? Like, there's nothing wrong with the way we did it before. And it's basically like, to me, I read it as Republicans being like, hey, if we want to gerrymander, we can gerrymander. You can't gerrymander it based on race, but you can certainly do it based on politics. The Democrats are the ones who taught us that. So long story short, it goes up to the Supreme Court. They hear an argument last spring, but then they held their opinion and they said, let's re-argue it with some additional constitutional provisions addressed. Not just the Voting Rights Act. Let's talk about the 14th Amendment. Let's talk about the 15th Amendment. Try to convince us whether this scheme can stand under those tests. So they went back before the Supreme Court yesterday, both sides. And now it's Louisiana and the non-white complainants and the Trump administration on one side. And it's the, non-black complainants. And it's the black complainants on the other side. Right? And along with like the ACLU and all these other groups who say this is racist, racist, racist. So that's the argument in a nutshell. Was Louisiana right to create a second district that's just black majority because somebody said Voting Rights Act, this is discrimination because there are more blacks in the state than appear to be represented, assuming that they mostly vote Dem in Louisiana in this district wide lines, these lines. It's not going to go the way of the black complainants. It's going to go Louisiana's way. That seems really clear. The Supreme Court seemed very much ready to side with the Trump administration in Louisiana and say, this is bullshit. This looks like politics, not racism. And there's a difference. But here is Ketanji Brown Jackson swooping in to try to rescue this scheme by comparing black people today in 2025 America to disabled Americans who had absolutely no facilities made available to them prior to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Listen.
And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled.
Disabled. So 2025 America, the irony of this being a black woman sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States, comparing herself to basically disabled people 50 years ago who couldn't get into any building because none of them had ramps. There's been no progress. We're really back where we were. Everything's racist. And therefore we can't change anything because we're basically still in the Jim Crow South.
Yeah, I mean, they're virtually obliged to make an argument.
Why are you looking at Camille Moynihan?
Because he's disabled and I feel bad that he has to answer.
Was that? Let's give it a try.
Yes.
So, I think that the original sin here, like of all of this, and I find it genuinely fascinating, is that there is this racial essentialist philosophical commitment in the law. It's baked into the law. The reason everyone is always, well, have we done enough here? Is it time to sunset these laws? Is because everyone knows that this sort of affirmative discrimination or affirmative bias in the law, whether you're discriminating against people because you dislike them or because you want to help them, it is antithetical to the principle of equality under the law. It is antithetical. They're at odds. We're trying to remedy some past harm by making the law do something that we know is at odds with the spirit of the Constitution. And as a result, the argument she has to level is, well, no. I mean, we just haven't done enough yet. I mean, they're basically just children. We need to help them. And in her case, Supreme Court Justice essentially making an argument because she self-identifies this way, you need to help us. Like, you haven't done enough for me. I find the entire thing pretty obscene, but I also think we're uncovering something here. And to the extent that there is a correction here that's being made by the Supreme Court, and we've seen a number of rulings along these lines that suggest that people are well past this. Even in California, they've managed to knock down affirmative action efforts there. People want equality under the law. They prefer that to equity. Like, this, in many respects, is the crux of the debates and some of the arguments that we were having back in 2020, 2021, when the Black Lives Matter thing was ascendant. Do we want a country where everyone is treated the same way? Or do we want a country where we designate you disadvantaged or advantaged, and then we prioritize you under the law so that we can level the playing field and turn America into Harrison Bergeron? And I know which one of those things is attractive to me. It's unfortunate that Ketanji Brown Jackson and so many other people are stuck in this outmoded way of thinking. It is entirely possible to address people's needs without imagining that all of us who happen to have a particular hue in our skin are categorically disadvantaged, or that everyone who is a little lighter is categorically advantaged. It is obnoxious. It is wrong. It is an abject falsehood that we should be all looking to move beyond. And I'm happy we're having some of these disagreements. I hope that we have them in like substantive enough ways for people to actually understand what's happening here. No one wants discrimination except for the people who are advocating for discrimination openly. And whether you're advocating for it because you want to help people or not, doesn't matter. It is still discrimination.
Yeah, that is like Chief Justice Roberts says, the answer to dividing us by race is not more dividing us by race. Like, the answer to past discrimination is not more discrimination, contrary to what Ibram X. Kendi says. A fact check on something I said a minute ago, that Trump No Kings post was not real. Wah, wah. I got fooled by the internets. That's sad. It sounded like him, as the best fake tweets will lead you to believe that it's real. It sounded like him. But in any event, well said, Camille, and we'll now await the decision, because part of what that Harry Enton clip we played was referring to was, if the Supreme Court does find in favor of Louisiana, this could lead to redistricting in a number of states that actually could cost the Democrats a number of seats. The number I heard was as many as 7 potentially. And so it really would matter electorally. It's kind of funny to me how the Republicans essentially are saying, we are gerrymandering, but not on race, based on politics. We're not trying to keep down blacks, just Democrats. Right? And everybody's kind of like, yeah, that's the thing we're all really familiar with. The Democrats do it to the Republicans and vice versa. Okay. We're going to take a quick pause, and then when we come back, we have to do Mamdani, and then I have a special treat for you boys, and that's all I'm going to say for now. Stand by. Why are elite athletes, business leaders, and high performers turning to Armra Colostrum? Armra Colostrum is nature's first whole food, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at the cellular level to support lean muscle growth, to accelerate recovery, and to fuel performance, all without artificial stimulants or synthetic ingredients. Whether you are training hard, managing a busy schedule, or simply looking for an edge, Armra says it can help optimize your body for peak output. Armra Colostrum reports to enhance metabolism, improve nutrient absorption, and support hormone balance for better energy and fat burning potential too. Additional benefits include support for hair growth, skin radiance, and faster recovery after intense activity, making it a powerful tool for anyone looking to perform at their best. Here's a special offer. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Just go to Armra, ARMRA.com/Megyn, or enter the code Megyn when you check out. That's ARMRA.com/Megyn to get 30% off your first subscription order. Can a home security system really call itself security if it only responds once someone is already inside your home? With Simply Safe, it's different. AI-powered cameras detect threats while they are still outside of your home and alert real security agents immediately. These agents take action before anyone breaks in. They confront the intruder. They're like, hey, we see you. They let them know they're being watched. They call the cops, and if needed, they sound a siren or trigger a spotlight. That's amazing. I mean, you almost kind of want to see it happen. That's real security. Simply Safe's monitoring agents have your back. talking to intruders even when you're not at home. There are no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel at any time. And with a 60-day money-back guarantee, you can try it risk-free. Enjoy the peace of mind it provides, whether you are home or away. The cameras, the app, and the rapid response make it feel dependable and smart. Right now, save 50% on a Simply Safe home security system at simplysafe.com/Megyn. That's simplysafe.com/Megyn. There is no safe like Simply Safe. Zohran Mamdani seems poised easily to win this mayoral race, which is depressing because he gives answers like this when asked very straightforward questions on Fox News by the very talented Martha McCallum. SOT 4.
If you are asked tomorrow night if you give credit to President Trump for the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and the return of the 20 living hostages, would you raise your hand?
When it comes to the ceasefire, I am thankful and I have hope that it will actually endure and that it will be lasting. And I continue to have concerns because I've seen reports still, just this in the last few days, that 5 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli military. And that's what gives me pause about issuing any kind of praise or celebration at a moment when it is still so in its infancy. And what I will tell you is that in that same moment, it is also one that requires a focus on ensuring that that hope, that belief in a better future is one that is emblematic in our policies right here in New York City as well. And that's what we're hoping to lead with.
So would you give President Trump credit or not, to any extent? Credit or not?
I think it's too early to do so.
Too early to say.
But if it proves to be something that is lasting, something that is durable, then I think that that's where you give credit.
You're an asshole. We have fucking 20 hostages are free. Don't be such a dick. I'm sorry, but like 20 hostages are free. What do you mean it's too early? Today's the day.
Back forever.
Why is he doing that? Why?
Because he doesn't want to answer the question. I mean, your point is right. I mean, he's an asshole because, I mean, we say, well, if it's lasting, if anybody watched those scenes on, I believe it was Monday night, and I stayed up to watch them. It was, they were being released at 9 a.m. in Israel. And it was like unbearable to watch it because it was so happy and so depressing. And because, you have people who of 28 bodies that didn't come back. I mean, I think 8 did, and 1 wasn't even
was a Palestinian.
And it was to watch all of that and the families and the joy and the heartbreak was unbelievable and unbearable almost to watch, but it was a happy, joyous moment. And if you can't share in that joy, something's really wrong with you. You had Zohran Mamdani's wife, and I don't blame him for his wife's politics, but posting something on Instagram, mourning the death of this Hamas operative, who is called Mr. Fafo. If you've been following this, you know who he is.
Yes. And he celebrated 10/7.
Yeah, he celebrated 10/7. There's a video of him joyous on that day, and who was killed by other Palestinians. What Mamdani says, 5 people were killed by Israel since the ceasefire. I don't know who those people are. I don't know if that's right, if they were fighters, if they were raising guns to people. But there's lots and lots of video online that anyone can open their eyes and see of Palestinians being killed by Hamas. In the Wall Street Journal, an incredible story, a really deeply reported story yesterday on the front page of the Wall Street Journal of what has happened since Hamas has not been fully disarmed. And, Trump's response to that, which was a great one, is if you don't, the word we is what he used. He said, if you don't disarm, we are going to do it. So you better be smart about this, which was like
Trump
a shot
did actually say that one, unlike my tweet. He actually did say that.
That was him. That was not.
They will be disarming. Hamas will be disarming, or we will disarm them. Let me give you a second Zohran Mamdani soundbite on this exact front. She asked a very good question here in SOT 5.
So you've denounced Israel and the United States for the response to the slaughter on October the 7th. In fact, at times you've called it a lasting stain, the response, and at times you have left October 7th out of your statements completely around this issue. You just talked about Israelis killing some Palestinians, but Hamas is killing Palestinians within Gaza. And they have not returned the bodies that they promised to return, including 2 Americans. So what is your response to what Hamas is doing now?
I think those are bodies and remains that should absolutely be returned. And I think that I have no issue with critiquing Hamas or the Israeli government because my critiques all come from a place of universal human rights. And my focus, however, is right here in New York City and transforming the most expensive.
Do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all. And as it pertains to Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there is peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law.
Absolutely.
Aside is separate from justice and safety.
But by the way, I mean, the idea that he hasn't made any comments about the future of the region, a provable, demonstrable lie.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, on Instagram and in comments. But if you cannot say, and I'm sorry, that this city is the city that I live in, the city that I love dearly, it is not the Middle East, but if you say, well, I make comments all the time, but I'm not going to make one right now, by the way. I will say things about Hamas, but I'm not going to say it right now. If you cannot say that this is a knuckle-dragging death cult that murders Jews and enshrined in their charter is the elimination of the state of Israel, and if you cannot denounce that, I don't think you should be mayor of this city, and I don't think that's a crazy opinion.
And not just murders Jews.
Like murders Palestinians. A vector
anyone non-Hamas is potentially in danger. No, it's terrifying. Cuomo is within like 10 or 11 points of him, according to the latest poll, but he would need Sliwa to drop out, the Republican, and he would have to be banking on Sliwa's 15% to all go to Andrew Cuomo, which is a big question mark because I think I speak for all Republicans when I say we can't stand Andrew Cuomo and we don't want to help him. But we also want to stop Zohran Mamdani, so it's very hard. What?
Say it again.
Say again?
He should keep his promise to come on the fifth call and stop punting.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo?
Yes, scheduled interviews in the Megyn.
Calling you out.
Will you do me a
now?
favor? Do me a favor. If that does wind up happening, would one of you guys just call me beforehand? Let's just have a private conversation before it happens.
No, we want it to happen. So please don't say this on the air. We will call you, but don't say it.
I'm only going to say good luck and have a great time. That's all I want to say to you. All right. Before we go, we have to do something lighter that I really wanted to bring to you. You may or may not be aware, because you focus on a lot of things on the fifth column. You have a lot of things that you need to report on. But in 2021, something dramatic happened over at Victoria's Secret. And you probably missed it, but I'm just going to tell you how this went down. But the headline from the New York Times was Victoria's Secret swaps angels for, quote, what women want. Will they buy it? The Victoria's Secret angels, those avatars of Barbie bodies and Playboy reverie, are gone. Their wings, fluttery confections of rhinestones and feathers that could weigh almost 30 pounds, are gathering dust in storage. The fantasy bra dangling real diamonds and other gems is no more. In their place, 7 women famous for their achievements and not their proportions. They include... Well, I'm going to show you in a minute. Don't put it up yet, Deb. I'll show you in 1 second who it included. And these women that they selected, quote, will be spearheading what may be the most extreme and unabashed attempt at a brand turnaround in recent memory, an effort to redefine the version of sexy that Victoria's Secret represents and sells to the masses. Here was the woman leading the charge. Yes. Megyn Rapinoe, lover of all things trans. That's what we got instead of the angels. We also got the plus-sized model. We were told we needed to celebrate body inclusivity. So advocate Paloma Elsesser, she was there. Here she is in the middle. She's a little hefty, not too big, but this is what they wanted you to admire and whatever else you do when you look at the Victoria's Secret models, instead of
whatever
the girls in the wings.
I admire
Megyn Kelly.
I'm just, whatever you do in your own private time is up to you. And so that was the question. Will this effort, spearheaded by these women who were not only going to participate in the campaigns, but going to be advisors? They were going to be, Megyn Rapinoe is going to advise Victoria's Secret on what beauty means and how to turn around the Victoria's Secret brand. So they were spearheading the most extreme and unabashed attempt at a brand turnaround in recent memory. An attempt to redefine the version of sexy that they've been going with. Well, they just had the latest Victoria's Secret show, and let's see how that went. You're back.
Angels.
The Angels are back. Let's
The Angels, the 30-pound wings.
Yeah,
the 10-foot-tall women with the rocket bodies. Yeah, the tans. The no fat.
You're victorious for the accomplishment. Sorry.
So you're shocked that it didn't work. Are you demanding more Megan Rapinoe? Please walk me through your thoughts.
Megan, I don't want you to put me on the spot like this because as I said earlier, I love all women and I have to empower them. But I think that these women are really doing a job of empowering women that the other ones couldn't. I don't know why. But they look intangible. There's something intangible. I think the second girl, her novel was incredible. Did you read her novel? The second girl. It was in Russian, but I think it's in translation now. But it's amazing. And
spent a lot of time with it.
The great. It's only a man could do this. Not that. Only a man could say the thing at the beginning is that we are going to do things for women. We're going to put women out on the catwalk for women. Have you ever seen a woman's Instagram feed?
Yeah.
Right? It's all hot women. Yeah. I'm like, it's all beautiful women. And
granted, it's who you are following on Instagram.
Yeah, it's because they think that I'm
we don't want to look at Megan Rapinoe any more than a man does. Nobody wants to look at her. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Men like looking at hot women.
Literally nobody wants to look at Megan Rapinoe. And everyone, male and female, if they have eyes, would like to look at those Victoria's Secret angels and say #goals. The goals are different, but they're there for both of us.
I might
and somebody figured that out.
I mean, I because these women are fine, but I only have an eye for one woman.
Oh, God.
My wife is just.
Oh, Lord.
Just
over it.
But they're fine.
Yeah,
they're doing fine.
Yeah,
good for them. I applaud them.
I want to have a universalist thing too at the end and say that I have an eye for all women.
Yes.
And it's obvious when I'm in a room. I have an eye for all women. I'm very respectful
and not only
of their achievements.
Yes.
Can you guys indulge me literally just 3 extra minutes? I know I do this to you all the time, but I promise I will have you out of here by the top of the hour, but I've got to go over this other piece of this story, and you are the perfect guest for it. Will you stay with me for a few more minutes?
Sure.
This is what I wanted to raise. There was a report on CNN just a couple of days ago that the headline of which is as follows. After years of progress on gender, the male gaze is back. Gaze.
Progress on gender.
Gaze as in Gaze. Just to be clear.
The male gaze have always been around. They did not go away.
The male gaze, we're always there, CNN. No. And it's written by somebody named Madeline Holcomb, writer for CNN Wellness. And here is what she writes. In the past decade, I saw the evidence of progress in my media diet. The movies, the shows, the books, the advertisements I consumed were increasingly giving women a seat at the table. Heroin chic fell away, and body positivity entered the fashion world. Stories about a woman stealing your man were traded for celebration of the girl's girl who resisted the competition for men's attention. It seemed like women were taking a deeper breath with such heavy cultural restrictions. And then there was a shift. The recent rise of weight loss medications. It coincided with social media influencers sharing ways to get smaller and no longer celebrating bodies of all sizes. Advertisements followed suit, making men's desire once again a dominating factor in how stories are told and how women are portrayed. The culprit, I have learned, is the male gaze.
Oh, yes.
It's the gaze. They get blamed for everything. It was always there. But now it has stepped back into the spotlight. The male gaze came roaring back this summer. The Sydney Sweeney ad she mentions, another beauty campaign that was led by somebody hot. And this year saw viral content around the OnlyFans lunatic who wanted to break the world record for most sexual partners. Somehow that's part of Republicanism and their desire to bring back what is normal male behavior. If you are observing women in movies, TV, fashion, social media, and marketing, and they don't feel as fully materialized as their male counterparts, that is the male gaze. That's the male gaze. The woman's value is reduced insofar as existing for pleasure or basically to be an object, says the Loyola University of Chicago Quinlan School of Business professor. They quote, and then just a bit more, and I'll give it to you boys. It's Bond girls and a long, lingering shot panning up a woman's body in an advertisement for soda. You're looking at Cindy Crawford, clearly. It's when an action movie accessory is running through explosions in tiny shorts and flowing curl. Every man is enjoying these images in their head right now. That's the way life works. Flowing curled hair before collapsing helplessly in the hero's arms, and a social media star making a recipe while all dolled up and explaining her steps in a soft, sultry voice. Okay, so that's her theory. By the way, you won't be surprised to learn she later reveals that the prevailing perspective in stories, art, and advertising is not just male, but white. And all of this makes those who don't align with those identities have less power. It's disempowering.
She feels unmaterialized.
Yeah.
I feel a Halle Berry. But
do you remember that Bond girl, the one that was like 350 pounds, that was like running a scene with flowing hair?
Do you remember when James Bond was 350 pounds?
Yeah,
That's the actual. I would take all of this more seriously if they were advocating for me. Like, what about how I feel every time I see Henry Cavill or The Rock or something get cast in something and they're just focused on their abs? Like, how does that make me feel?
Have you ever seen a fat guy with his shirt off on a cover of a magazine?
Yeah.
I've seen,
as a joke.
I've seen very big women.
Who?
In the
Seen who?
Have you ever seen a fat guy with his shirt off on the cover of a magazine?
Men's Health.
In like this
It must have been like a Chris Farley magazine cover at some point.
Laugh line. It's like John Candy. It's like a laugh line. And it's like there was that moment which she laments. I do not lament that moment where the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, like minimum was like 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
It was like it was baseline and like missing a limb. It was everything. You couldn't just... And I was just like, oh, okay.
You must share my fetish.
That's what's looking for the hockey. I'm not interested in that.
No, and they were literally putting transvestites or transsexual, like men posing as women, like people with penises in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. And now if you don't like that, that's because you're, I guess, part of the problem. White, male,
everyone
and
done this
empowered.
Has failed. I mean, Victoria's Secret reverts to the wings. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit model puts swimsuits.
Playboy?
Playboy went like
nudity.
Well, non-nudity for like a hot,
a couple
like
of
hot minute.
Yeah.
They were like, what are we doing?
Why are we alive?
Who are we?
In an Irish bar not serving whiskey.
This
It's
is
not
a
going
sign
to do
that
it.
these companies aren't making money anymore because like no one, if it was an actual money-making concern, would just like throw all that money off the table.
But the best example of this, of the failure of this kind of ideology that was forced on us, market was not deciding here.
Progress on gender.
Yeah, progress on gender is
Imagine that.
amazing.
Progress on a biological reality.
And by the way, I just want to be
looking
to the listeners of the Megyn Kelly Show, the viewers of Megyn Kelly Show, that through all that period, I heroically, as a dissident, kept on gazing at women, and no one stopped me. I was like, look, there's a hot girl. I'm like, oh, no.
Not even
Is this a story about another surreptitious subway picture you took?
Oh, which one?
First you're photographing the woman's button, but really what else is on that camera roll?
The butt.
May we hold still, please?
No, just this is for science.
Like all of this it's not totally unrelated to the AOC clip we started the show with, right? Like they tried to beat maleness out of men for years. They tried to tell you were toxic in your masculinity if you wanted to look at the beautiful angels. And every man alive knew that was a lie.
Correct.
And also that you were a collaborationist if you were a female who appreciates female beauty too.
Oh,
which
wait, Matt, she writes this. She says, I'll let you finish. She writes, women sometimes turn the male gaze on one another. It happens when they objectify themselves, promote traditional gender roles as the ideal way of living, and or enforce beauty standards for others. You're right.
That's internalized racism of gender, right?
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Internalized misogyny.
Internalized misogyny.
I've been
right?
accused of that many times. I hate myself, and I hate women And that's why I have to rip on women.
By the way,
meanwhile, I'm an equal opportunity offender. I have plenty of men I've ripped to shreds. The evidence will speak for itself.
It's exactly true. Megyn doesn't hate women. She just hates lots of women. And it's not because they're women. It's because they're idiots. But
it's true.
My daughter was watching this supermodel documentary on like Apple Plus or something, which was great. I was really interested in it. Oh, the
You're
things
such a
they were
supportive
saying.
dad.
I'm
so
supportive. I'm like, I want to support you and sit here and watch and don't talk to me during it. I just go to your room.
Can you pass me the blanket?
But the funny thing about this, to your point, man, who is responsible for this? It is actually the male gaze. YS, because it was just all the people doing these fashions, it was all gay men doing this, and it's like deep down inside, they're still men. They're still straight men. A little bit. It's like I'm a diabetic. I still produce a little insulin. There's a bit left. They're like, we know what they want, and so the male gaze and the male gaze. It's both the problem, apparently. Wow.
The projection.
I support them.
The amount of projection in our politics. They are puritanical in the extreme. Trying to police your desires. You are not allowed to like.
They are not.
It's not.
You will like Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah, no, what a failed project. Do you like this? I'm like, no, I am not going to like this. And I'm going to continue saying, we filmed this here in Soho, and it is a challenge to walk 2 blocks in Soho because of my male gaze.
It's actually true.
It's like I walk in the studio, I walk into potholes. Yeah. I'm like,
and not far away in Chelsea, it is a problem to walk because of the male gaze too. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but that's the time when I feel good, Megan. Yeah. Because the male gaze is on me.
This is a funny story. Doug and I lived in Chelsea when we first got married. And it was like I had an apartment and we both moved in there. And he was living in a different place altogether. But anyway, we moved into Chelsea. And at the time I had 2 little Shih Tzus. And after they went to the groomer, they'd get like the little bows in their hair. You know, they looked very sort of frou-frou. And Doug, being a great guy, he would walk the dogs. You know, I wasn't always the one who walked them. He would walk them too. And one day he came home and he goes, new rule. He goes, no more hot pink poop bags for the dogs. It's tough enough out there.
Yeah. Hey, Doug.
I mean, Doug walking through Chelsea is going to be a problem.
Chelsea's a problem, but it's not. I mean, the thing is, as a man, when you're on the other end of that, because women don't really do it in a bit, but when men do it to you, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because
it makes me a little like it depends on how intense
I don't think Doug enjoyed it. I think he was against it, and he was kind of relieved when we moved to the Upper West Side, where we just got harassed by Greenpeace. Totally different story. I do want to say one of the
every time against Greenpeace.
One other real connection that this story, because this is obviously she's a lunatic, this person, but did you see the news that NBC laid off some 150 staffers, and they're all from the DEI department? Like the Pride department and the DEI department, basically all of that, the gender and the race people who are enforcing the gender and the race rules over at NBC. And we're seeing that at company after company after company. But obviously the NBC one jumped out at me because I thought they were super non-racist and super pro-pride and super all that. And like all this shows is they were lying all along. They've all been lying all along. They hired these people because they were threatened by BLM and the Human Rights Campaign. And it's all coming down. The house of cards is coming down around us. Every day there's another article about how there's been mass layoffs at a company and it's all the DEI people. And this is so promising because the more of this that happens, I'm sorry for anybody to lose their job, but I totally don't believe in this job. So that's where my comments come from. The more of this that happens, the more likely we're going to see a world in which they eliminate that fake major at all of these top Ivy League colleges where you can major in like whatever, gender studies or DEI is probably now itself a major. And therefore people won't be funneled into this fake profession and be living their lives around race essentialism or gender essentialism or whatever it is. So it's a very good sign. That layoff at NBC, as much as I do feel for people losing their jobs, is a very positive sign, as is the news, we haven't gotten to it this week, but the news about the young college-age students no longer identifying with anything other than male or female. Like they're saying goodbye to non-binary and trans identities It was at like 9% at places like Andover Prep School and Columbia University. And now it's fallen to 3%. Like it's way down. So the incoming freshman class is far less. And even bisexual is going by the wayside. They're not their heterosexual numbers have gone up. The male gays have stayed the same. The female lesbians have stayed the same. But hetero's going up and bi is going down. And then over on the gender front, non-binary and trans are way down. The freshman class is far more, forgive me, normal than the senior class at these universities and even high schools are. And that's yet another reason to celebrate. Thank God, right? But unfortunately, that fad cost a lot of people very, very dearly. So it's sad what they've been put through by a disgusting, corrupt medical system. But I see all of this as reason to be optimistic and hopeful. How about you guys?
A lot of people who I know were really allergic to the analysis that some of those numbers, that spike number of people self-identifying in middle school and high school as non-binary or whatever, I would say this is social contagion. And I would say this because I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I saw her circles, like suddenly everybody was non-binary, was a lesbian, was like a member of the, and just look at them like, I've known you your whole life. Yeah. You are so not. Yeah. Trust me, I know this. This was a social contagion moment, and people are allergic to that because they think that it's all about a negative association with the underlying condition, which I don't have any negative feeling towards people who expressing who they actually are or identifying as they actually are. That is fine. What I don't have a warm feeling about is like peer pressure on 13-year-olds to get rewarded for being marginalized into an identity that they don't actually have. And that took place, and there were some dire consequences for some people as part of that.
But one of the reasons you see these numbers going down is, obviously the culture changes, but the reward system changes. Yeah. And when you are a white guy who has, no dog in this fight, in these kind of sweepstakes, I as a black, this, that, when you're just like a white guy, you could choose non-binary because it was meaningless, right? And there was some reward to that. I'm a non-binary person, and everybody wanted to get involved in that. I saw this close up. I was saying I don't use those pronouns, and it's like they look. There's no indication physically, the way they dress, that they are anything but the gender that they actually are.
But they got a little extra credit.
But they got a little extra credit for that. When you take the credit away, it's much like the DEI stuff at NBC. We talked about this on the show the other day, Megyn, about, I talked about this with your brilliant producer, Steve Krakauer, who was on the Moynihan Report 2 days ago. And Steve was making a great point, and we had a conversation about these shows, right? These Jimmy Kimmel shows, because, $300 million to make, and they have a fraction of the viewers of like the Megyn Kelly Show, and Steve making the point that they'll be picking these things out. I mean, if they're smart, these very, very low production costs, because they're losing money. But what is the first thing you do when you're at NBC and you're like, okay, we're losing money because we're spending $1 billion on all these late night shows, these other shows that don't make money, and you have a department of 130 people who do nothing but kind of wag their finger. I mean, the market is deciding there that these are the first people you can fire.
And if they produce content, as in Vice, where Michael used to work, the content they produce is so hysterically unpopular, you cannot believe the numbers.
Yeah, which I outlined in my piece for the Free Press about when I got a hold, because nobody ever had the numbers of which pieces online performed well. The YouTube stuff, you could see that all those numbers were juiced. But I got an Excel spreadsheet of which pieces performed well. Someone gave it to me, and I wrote about it in that piece. And all the ones of, Gwen Stefani is problematic because she wore a bindi, or things like that, or it was absolute rock bottom. And to Megyn's point that nobody believes this, I also wrote about in that piece, people that I saw on calls speaking in this insane language, and then I would speak to them 2 hours later. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't believe any of that stuff."
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, it actually happened. It happened to me.
The House of Cards it's falling. You can feel it. You see it every day in the paper, online, on X. A new report of some company eliminating this department altogether. Next up, we have to do the majors in the colleges so these people aren't misdirected for an entire 4 years plus in getting an education. They could actually either skip college or get like a real major that might actually prepare you for life. Not that. And I'm super encouraged by it. I really think there's a lot of reason to hope, notwithstanding that moron AOC and her backward messaging on where we allegedly are. I love you guys. Thanks for sticking around late. And it did take longer than 3 minutes. I apologize. Great to see you.
Always done.
Love it.
All right.
See you soon. Bye, guys. Love them. It's always such a great day when the fifth column comes on, when you can talk about anything. I mean, it's wonderful to have a group of guests who can talk about anything. Not everybody can go in depth on, Gaza, politics, culture, and Victoria's Secret. And funny as hell. All three of them make me laugh every time they're on. Okay, tomorrow, another favorite guest, VDH, is here. We will see you then. The left is losing its mind over these Trump cabinet picks. I mean, they're not grateful that he chose Rubio for state or, Elise Stefanik for the UN. They're just spending all their time telling us how radical he is because of Gates, Hegseth, and RFKJ and Tulsi. And The View got a little too excited in its coverage of Matt Gaetz the other day. And is this just the apology video in number 2, Deb? Okay, this is all of it. Okay, so here is where they misstepped, and then the hostage video that they were forced to read thereafter. Watch Satu.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
I'm saddened by it.
Yeah.
Because all of those women who will have to get some defense of what's happened to them, that's who they're going to.
Yes.
And this is someone who will just say, it's not a big deal. All those little kids who, get abused.
What?
They got no recourse now because this is what's in charge.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
Oh, my God. All those little kids who got abused have no recourse? This is about a child? The worst of the allegations as we know them is that he denies it, but he's accused of having an interlude with a 17-year-old who then, even his eyewitnesses who are against him say he didn't know was 17, then stopped the relationship. This is the worst allegation against him, which he denies. And the DOJ did not bring charges because they did not find these witnesses credible. But in any event, it is that then he stopped the relation and resumed it when this young woman was 18. And from that, The View gets all these little kids who get abused by him now have no recourse. Andrew, I can't.
Well, first of all, this is the party, not just of John F. Kennedy, but of Bill Clinton and of George Stephanopoulos, who went from silencing the women who accused Clinton of rape and abuse to having a major network anchor position on the basis of that work. Basically, that was his requirements. One of the delicious things about the Trump election, and I'm finding it just absolutely wildly ecstatic. I'm just loving every minute of this transition. This is the best transition ever. And one of the best things about it is exposing the left's blindness to the way they've behaved. Because the appointments that Trump is making are appointments to departments and divisions that are entirely out of whack, that have abused our rights, that have just been incompetent, that have absolutely gone south in every possible way. And he's sending in bomb throwers. There's no question about it. He's sending in guys who are going in there like Roto-Rooter to clean the places out. And they're saying, why should we ever do this? Why should we abandon long-standing practices at Health and Human Services after Health and Human Services destroyed this country during the COVID pandemic by acting so incompetently, so stupidly, so corruptly, and so oppressively that anything you did to them would be an improvement. And the same, actually, with the Defense Department, which has been a total mess under the Biden regime. I'm kind of past it. I don't want criminals appointed. I think if you have a criminal record and it's an actual active criminal record, that could count against you. But that these are bad boys that he sent in there really just doesn't bother me at all. I am absolutely past caring what the left thinks about anything because of the way they have treated us, the oppression, the censorship, the lies, and the prosecuting their political opponents in the person of Donald Trump and the people who followed him and the people who protested peacefully on January 6th. It's just been an absolute mess. So the fact that he's going in there with some bad guys to take things apart does not bother me even a little bit. I cannot work myself up about it in any way whatsoever.
I can relate. I'm like, the more I see how much they hate him, the more I want him.
I know. It's great. It is great. And it's such a rebuke to this system of the academy, the media, and Hollywood and the bureaucracy that were thrown up against this guy with all the force they had, all the lies they had, every statement he made taken out of context, every gesture he made taken to mean something it didn't mean, again and again and again. The people show up and just said no. And people keep saying, well, he doesn't really have a mandate because he's going to come out with about 50% of the vote to 48%, somewhere around there. And they say, well, that's not a mandate. That's very close. But that's not the victory. The victory is not Republicans over Democrats. It's not conservatives over liberals. It's Donald Trump over the media and this shroud of lies that has basically been choking this country for decades at this point. It's just an amazing victory that he could actually come back from where he was when they were counting him out, when they were throwing ridiculous charges against him, when they were bending the law so that people could accuse him of things that had gone past the limits of prosecution. It's just an amazing victory. And that's what's so delicious about it, is not the vote count, I'm glad he won the popular vote, but still, it's not that's so wonderful. It's the destruction, the rebuke of this communication system that has throttled this country and throttled conversation, throttled debate, and throttled freedom for just so long. And it is a major, major victory. So everything they say is just making me laugh, and with an evil kind of cartoon villain laugh.
Yeah.
Which I've been practicing for years, by the way.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear it. I mean, let's let it rip.
I'm sure it'll pop up from time to time.
Okay. You mentioned that now they're trying to say, look, it's not a mandate. It's not a mandate. It's been very kind of fun watching them try to find the little comforts, like, well, he cheated on me, but the woman wasn't a 10. She was like an 8. Okay. However you need to get yourself through this crisis, go for it. I'll give you Harry Enton on CNN doing a report on how it's a victory, but it's a shitty victory. Watch.
You look historically speaking, Donald Trump is now under 50% in the national popular vote. Popular vote victory ranks 44th. Out of 51. That ain't exactly strong. Some might argue that is weak, in the words of Tony Blair. In fact, his popular vote win at this point is the weakest, going all the way back. You have to go all the way back to 2000 to find a weaker one, a smaller popular vote victory than Donald Trump currently has. So, yeah, Trump has won the popular vote, but it ain't all that, my dear friend John Berman.
George W. Bush had a bigger popular vote in 2004.
So, you talk about the Senate, short coattails. States Trump won, but Democrats won or lead in the Senate race. Look at this. In 2016, it was 0. In 2020, it was 0. In 2024, look at this. 4 states where a Senate Democratic candidate won. What about the House? Well, we're talking about a historically small majority potentially for the Republicans. The GOP would have a record small majority if the current House results hold. What we're talking about is a very wide win for Donald Trump, but the depth, it's not particularly deep. It's actually quite shallow, historically speaking.
Okay. Wide, but not deep. Shallow.
Wide, but not deep.
His popular vote, what? His popular vote, what is not impressive? A win. That's what we're talking about here.
Well, again, the blindness is the best part about this, because he was not running against Kamala Harris. He was running against a massive communications machine that the left has built up and taken over decades, and that has silenced people. I mean, people have been afraid to say anything for fear that they will be thrown out of their jobs, for fear that they'll be thrown off social media, and the stuff that they've been afraid to say is all simple truth. It's like, was the last election, if you say that the last election was a cheat in any way, you can get kicked off social media for damaging the trust of the American people. Well, the last election, I don't know if it was stolen, but it was certainly rigged. I mean, there were so many lies, so much firepower, communication firepower trained on Trump. He did not beat Kamala Harris. He beat the whole deal. The fact that he got any kind of popular majority is virtually a miracle. No one else could have done it. He did it. All the things that bother people like me about Donald Trump were weapons at his command. The fact that I'm a polite guy who doesn't like to see people talk the way Trump talks sometimes, that's what was required. That was, cometh the hour, cometh the man. That was what God needed to call forth in order to defeat this absolute machine that the left had built up for silencing dissent. You only had to say, oh, these programs don't work, to be called a racist, sexist, all the phobes. If you only had to notice that a lot of terrorists happen to be young Muslim men and suddenly you were a bigot. It's just an amazing thing. The actual efficiency of it, I kind of respect it. You could come out one day after Barack Obama said, marriage is between a man and a woman and God is in the mix. One day after the Supreme Court invents a right to gay marriage in the Constitution where it doesn't exist, the White House is turned rainbow colored, and suddenly there is a Pride Month. Now, Megyn, you and I are New Yorkers. We have absolutely no wish to bother other people in their personal lives. I know, we've talked about this before, but I don't need a month to celebrate my pride in homosexuality.
No,
I'm not sure it's worth even 10 minutes. I think it's something that, of course, it's a difference that we tolerate, but still, that the absolute bully machine that these guys were capable of putting into motion at a moment's notice is what is broken. And they don't realize it yet, but they will slowly. They're going to suddenly find out that they have become incredibly irrelevant.
For those of us holding our breath for the past several months, we can finally exhale. Doesn't it feel like that? Work can finally be done on the major issues this country is facing, and it will be. One of the most significant, our national debt. The fact is our nation is broke, and that debt is a house of cards that can't be quickly dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. You might want to diversify your savings. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control and out of our president's control, so it can be really important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Text MK to 989898 now to get your free info kit. Plus, right now through Black Friday, you're going to receive a free 1-ounce Silver Eagle for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text MK to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. This woman's a loon. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas took the debate. Watch this.
Google Maps now show Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico for app users in the United States, which is a complete farce because it's the Gulf of Mexico. It always has been. And we know that the AP got kicked out yesterday because they refused to buy into this lie, because that's all y'all really want to promote is lies. So I will end by saying this, Mr. Chairman, because I know we believe in Jesus in this chamber. In John 8:32, it says, the truth shall set you free. So maybe we should focus on a little bit of truth in this chamber.
Cool. How was President Biden's health for the last year of his presidency? Love to talk about it. Let's chat. I love truth too. Let's do it. Vice President J.D. Vance responded to an X post about the matter of free speech from former MSNBC anchor Mehdi Hasan, who's very upset about the AP issue. So Vice President Vance responded to this Mehdi Hasan attack on the poor AP by saying, yes, dummy, I think there's a difference between not giving a reporter a seat in the White House press briefing room, which is actually, that's not even what Trump did. Trump did less than that, and jailing people for dissenting views. The latter's a threat to free speech. The former is not. Hope that helps. Joining me now, the hosts of the America This Week podcast, author and novelist Walter Kern, and our friend Racket News editor Matt Taibbi. Matt was in that hearing during Congresswoman Crockett's weird rant. Guys, great to see you. Matt, welcome back. Walter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
For having us, Megyn.
So I'm sorry that you had thoughts and prayers, because that must have been rather unpleasant, Matt. What did you make of it?
Oh, that was bizarre. She was looking, Congresswoman Crockett was looking right at me the entire time, talking about how we want to lie on the world and all this other stuff, and she was really animated. I could not, I made the mistake of trying to follow what she was saying, which is confusing.
Silly.
Yeah, it was very strange. The whole hearing was bizarre. Really, I was only asked one question, really, by a Democrat the entire hearing, which went on for hours. So
what was the point of the hearing? Why were you there, and what was the point?
I think Jim Jordan really wanted to underscore that there are continuing issues with the censorship landscape, which coincidentally Vice President Vance talked about this week, a lot of it having to do with the integration of the United States with sort of foreign and especially European-driven censorship regimes like the Digital Services Act or the Online Safety Act or Germany's NetzDG Act. And the United States is still basically in conflict with a lot of those countries and suppressing a lot of forces within our own country that want those kinds of measures here in the U.S.
All right, so the Democrats now see an opportunity, Walter, to spin this whole thing because the Trump administration says the AP can still go to the White House press briefing room, but can't have the extra bonus of going into the Oval, which is an extraordinary event anyway, by the way. I mean, like, when did Joe Biden just randomly invite a bunch of reporters just on a moment's notice to come visit him in the Oval and chit-chat with them? They can't go on Air Force One, but many other media companies can, not the AP. But they think that they're the vaunted gold standard of journalism. So they're very, very upset. And many on the left are now trying to organize this sort of posse by journalists like, yeah, I stand with the AP. This is bullshit. What do you make of it?
Well, the next time Delta Airlines refuses to upgrade me to a seat in the front of the plane, I'm going to cry censorship. Riding in the back of the plane is not being censored. Strangely enough, Matt and I, when we applied for credentials to the Democratic Convention, weren't allowed to go in at all. So they protest too much. The fact is that censorship has to do with your ability to say things, not the place from which you listen to things.
Well said. But they don't understand that. And what's really happening here is the AP has its feelings hurt. It's upset that it's not the vaunted news organization it once was, the same way 60 Minutes is not the vaunted news organization it once was. And the theme of today's show, for that, they have only themselves to blame. This whole show is about personal responsibility. But the AP has allowed itself to be turned into a joke. Go ahead, Walter.
Where does AP think the names of bodies of water come from? God? They're political designations. You know, a lot of these places in America have had three names. They had a name when we first got here. The American Indians named it something. Then the next group of settlers named it something else. And then when the place became a state, it was named something else. It is government that gives names to large features of geography. If the AP wants to dispute that and has some other policy about names and where they come from, that's fine. But the fact is they decided to have a tantrum, and they got a tantrum back, and now they're crying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't we change the name of Fort Bragg because people decided that was offensive? All these high schools out in San Francisco had their names changed when we decided that the founding fathers they were named after might have had a slave. even here in New York, closer to where I live, Matt, I got to go across the damn Mario Cuomo bridge now instead of the Tappan Zee, which is what it will always be to me because of that loser, Andrew Cuomo. But the AP will decide whether Trump's a lunatic and his name's Stick or he's not and they don't, whatever. And if it has to suffer any blowback, it cloaks itself in the First Amendment and it's the victim.
There's an angle here that's kind of funny. I think the AP doesn't understand that to a certain extent, Trump is trolling exactly them. The AP style book is essentially the glossary of accepted terminology that the entire print journalism industry uses. And when I first started off in print journalism, the style book was fairly static. It would change every now and then. But recently, it's become this thing where there are changes constantly, where they advise you, try to avoid using the word woke if you can, because it's used in a derogatory fashion by conservatives. Don't refer to the sex at birth of a transgender person if you can avoid doing that. They're constantly instructing you on usages that go far beyond things like grammar or official names. And Trump, by naming the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, I don't know how I feel about that personally, but it's incredibly clear that he's sort of returning in kind, that kind of stuff. And for them to throw a fit over this, it's silly on two levels. Number one, I came up in independent journalism. Nobody ever gave me a credential. Like, you don't need a credential to be a journalist. You can do it, as you say, Megyn, from where you are, or from, we're supposed to be on the outside. The tantrum is ridiculous. But the second thing is they do this constantly. That's what they do. And they're being called out on it.
They can't stand it. And they also can't stand having like special access to power. You guys know as well as I do that when it's a Democratic administration, they get all the leaks. They get invited to the right cocktail parties. They feel like one of the cool kids. And now they're on the outs. Now they've been relegated to the nerd section where no one will swing by and say hello to them. Now, I think Matt and I feel the same. Walter, I assume you do too. As a journalist, it's better to be ostracized. It's better not to be too chummy. It's one of the reasons why even though I totally support President Trump, I don't ask him for any favors at all. It's very important that I not owe him anything. I can't owe him anything because I have to be able to do the show in a way that leaves me free to criticize him or his administration. But people who work at CBS and ABC and the Washington Post, they're dying to stay on the inner halls of relevance. It's one of the reasons why the 51 intelligence agents having their access codes pulled for all the intelligence buildings was so effective, right? You're out. You're no longer important, Walter. And that kind of thing kills them.
Well, I live in Montana, about as far away as from the White House briefing room as you can be. But as a younger journalist, when I first went to Washington, just after Bill Clinton was elected the first time, I did a story on the New Republic magazine, which was a very inside publication, very popular with the Democratic establishment at the time. And I hung around their offices for a few days. And everybody of note, cabinet people, top advisors of the president, came through and gave off-the-record briefings. And as I sat there like a fly on the wall, I realized that the journalists were married to the press secretaries of the people in the administration. Everybody's kids went to school together. They gathered that night at parties and bars. They were, in fact, one social group, a very tight-knit social group. And I completely agree with you that proximity can become a form of corruption because as a journalist, when you're socializing with people, you're constantly hearing things that you can't report. And after a while, you're living in a world where you know way more than you are allowed to tell your audience. And that makes you part of them, in other words. You're keeping their secrets. You're keeping their secrets more than you're telling their secrets. And your job is to tell their secrets.
That's so true. That's why it's like, it's dangerous to need access in that way. It's a privilege and it's a power to be removed. You know what I mean? Like, it's better not to be at all their parties and rubbing elbows with all of them. And that applies to journalists and it applies to Supreme Court justices. You know, it's like, I think about it a lot because now I know this president better than I've known any other president. I saw him at the Super Bowl. We have a nice relationship now. We glad-handed. It was great to see him. I'm definitely rooting for him. I've told the audience that. But it does not cross over. I did not go to Mar-a-Lago on election night. You've got to keep somewhat of an arm's length or you become beholden to them. And you can't let your I'm rooting for him to succeed overcome your I'm rooting for myself to tell the truth to the audience, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I was advised as a young reporter by, some people who are kind of legendary investigative reporters at the time. Look, if you want friends, you can't stay in this business. This is a business where you're going to lose friends, and if you try to keep them, you're probably not doing your job correctly. So get used to having a pretty narrow social life, and then you'll be fine. And I think, what Walter's talking about, I mean, a lot of people in Washington talk about this concept of the blob, which is everybody you meet is married to somebody else who's a lobbyist. And there are these interlocking relationships where every transaction that you see, whether it's a piece of legislation that gets passed or, an executive order, there's a whole bunch of hidden connections that the public doesn't get to see, which is, it's questionable. I think it needs to be reported on, but it's worse when the reporters are part of the equation.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898, get your free info kit on gold, and get a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era, with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Just text my initials MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Bill, what do you think? Do you think these media companies that we discussed are in a downward spiral right now will take a cue from Elon and X and start allowing more discussion on these hot button issues?
Well, actually, I give CNN some credit. Scott Jennings, I think, has been really outstanding in terms of presenting an alternative voice. And so I think he's sort of helpful. But, I think what's unfortunate about media companies, I think that the privilege of owning a media company for some people appears to be, this is a vehicle that I can use to advance my political point of view. It's really not about, bringing truth to the people. It's about how do I manipulate the audience to coming to a conclusion about what I believe. And I do think, the X platform is about, just open free speech, let people, share their views and let the truth kind of emerge. I think that, I think fundamentally people are looking for truth. I mean, perhaps some subset of people want to just be reinforced with whatever they already believe. But when you have an election outcome like this one, where you have, I would say, 45% of the country in complete shock about what took place, they have to be questioning their sources of truth and sources of information. And so, economics, a very powerful force. And as the audience leaves mainstream media, they're going to have to adapt. And so I think that's really the opportunity. If no one's watching MSNBC, they're going to have to change.
Yes, fewer and fewer people are watching MSNBC, and even fewer than that are watching CNN, which is why there's a report out in Puck News that they will be having mass layoffs at CNN. I'm not surprised. The numbers are rock bottom. I mean, they're not even a remote competitor to Fox anymore or to MS. Chris Wallace just announced he's leaving CNN. Obviously, they did not renew his $8.5 million deal. His show got relegated to like another channel and then didn't do well. They can't support those salaries anymore. Not with their ratings. not nearly with their ratings. I know I will say this, having been through many presidential cycles at Fox News, I mean, I remember the doldrums of when Romney lost in 2012 and our ratings were in the tank compared to where they normally were. I mean, the audience left. They did not want to see anything about the start of Barack Obama's second term. So the audience, whatever was there before, will likely come back. But CNN's problem is it was crappy to begin with. It's not going to get any better even if they recover from this valley. There's the promised land is no longer in sight. And for MSNBC, Bill, I don't know if you saw the story. It's absolutely incredible. We've been talking about some of these crazy donations the Harris campaign made to get these endorsements. You know, they reportedly paid $5 million to Megyn Thee Stallion. Somehow Oprah's production company got $1 million to build that set. I mean, I'm in TV. It doesn't cost $1 million to build even the fanciest set. It just doesn't. $100,000 to the sex podcaster to make her hotel room look. No, that doesn't cost $100,000. It doesn't. At most, that would cost maybe $20,000. I don't know where all this money went or why they spent so willingly and irresponsibly. But there's a report out today that Al Sharpton.
Well, thank God she's not running the country, because imagine what she would do with the federal budget.
No kidding. Right. It's the opposite of what Elon's about to do with Vivek. Hold on a second. Al Sharpton, who not only runs the National Action Network, that's his nonprofit organization, which is very sketchy to begin with, he hosts a show on MSNBC. And it just came out today via the Free Beacon, which is a great group, Chuck Ross there, that her campaign donated $500,000 to his nonprofit weeks before Harris went to sit with him for an interview on MSNBC. I'm dying from the conflict of interest. I'm dead. It happened. Bill, this is like the bias is coming out of the ears. This is so irresponsible, unethical, and not allowed. It's so egregious, MSNBC is going to have to respond. You cannot make a donation to an anchor's charity on the side of $500,000 as a presidential candidate, then go sit with the anchor, and he didn't disclose it. He didn't disclose. This is not a news organization, but they continue to masquerade as one.
Yeah, it's terrible. And actually, we've had our own experience with Al Sharpton. I don't know if you know this, but after
he protested you.
Well, the protests happen every Thursday, 12 to 2. And when I actually read on X that he was going to be protesting me, I reached out to him. I said, look, happy to sit down, happy to explain my thinking on DEI. And he's been unwilling to meet with me. And the off ramp, of course, sadly, or maybe sadly it's the wrong word, with Al Sharpton is, if you make the right donation to the right place, the protesters go away. But this is not something that we do here. So 12 to 2, and the protesters have no idea who I am. I've actually walked through the protest to come into the office. They're paid. Look, at least people are getting paid something, which I feel good about. Maybe they get $25 an hour to protest us for a couple of hours, but it's so silly.
Is this because you supported the firing of Claudine Gay, a black woman who ran Harvard? This is what got you in trouble with him?
I don't know if it's specific to Claudine itself, but I wrote a 5,000-word piece on DEI that went viral, 40 million views or something, and ultimately I was an important catalyst for her stepping down from Harvard. Combination of those two things, I think he doesn't like me for that, or he saw this as an opportunity. And I'm happy to discuss, and I'm happy to hear his point of view. And if he disagrees with something, I'll have to explain where I'm coming from. But he's been unwilling to take a meeting, which I find.
I don't recommend it.
Usually people protest so you can engage. There's no engagement.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. I've talked to Al Sharpton. It's not worth your time. Plus, I think he's going to be fired soon. They got to fire Joy Reid now, and they got to fire Al Sharpton, because honestly, this is one of the more egregious breaches of journalistic ethics I've ever seen. They didn't respond to Chuck Ross of the Free Beacon when he called. There is no way they can get away with not responding on this. I mean, I'm going to have, in fact, team, please call them every day. Let's call them every day and demand a response. I think they can't get away with this. This is an absolute black eye for the entire profession that's already made a fool out of itself. But this is beyond. Yeah, that was crazy because I remember he was very mad at you for supporting the firing of Claudine Gay. Meanwhile, you also supported the firing of the MIT and the white women who were running those other organizations. It had nothing to do with color, but he's a race hustler. So he saw an opportunity to get his so-called charity in the news and himself in the news. And I guess those 12 people, they need work from 12 to 2. Can you hire them, Bill? Maybe we can offload them onto the new Elon program.
I'm sure they're good people, but I don't know that they know why they're there. I actually chatted with one of them. One day I got dropped off at the office. I forgot it was between 12 and 2. And I was chatting with one of the people there. And I said, look, anytime Hal Sharpton wants to sit down, I'm available to speak. But actually, the point you make, I think, is a really important one. I think that campaigns have to disclose if they're paying, Oprah or a Hollywood star or a music, an artist
at the time.
For endorsement. Yeah, so they can't do it after the election. It's really absurd.
The Genucel Dark Spot Corrector is back, and it's on sale at Genucel.com. The Dark Spot Corrector reduces the appearance of sunspots, brown spots, discoloration, and even red inflamed patches. And for the holiday preview sale, the Genucel Jawline Treatment is also on sale at Genucel.com. It tightens and sculpts the sensitive skin in the jawline and neck area with Genucel proprietary technology. Plus, new customers will save an additional 50% off the website sale prices automatically at checkout. Best prices on Genucel luxury skincare in their 25-year history. Go to Genucel.com now. Order any bestseller or even the Genucel Complete Skincare Package, which includes the classic Genucel Bags and Puffiness Treatment and the Immediate Effects product, all at massive discounts, and still save an additional 50% off your first order at checkout. Genucel.com/MK today. That's GENUCEL.com/MK. And as a special gift, every package order includes a limited edition beauty box with 2 skincare essentials, absolutely free with your order. Genucel.com/MK. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. On last week's debut, because he's just now in season 2 of Dedicated, he premiered with our friend Meryl Gordon, who we both love. And she's an extremely accomplished author. I mean, she is the real deal. And she made a bunch of news because she had some criticism for someone, even though I hate everybody in the mainstream media for the most part, we both like Anderson Cooper.
I'm fond of Anderson.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. But he did something in his new book that is a little questionable, and Meryl made some news on it.
Yes, he cited her book 39 times. So they both wrote a book on the Astors. Meryl's was mainly on Brooke Astor, but she's 105 years old, so it covers 100 years of the Astor family.
Right. Mrs. Astor Regrets.
Mrs. Astor Regrets, and it's a terrific book. Meryl's written a number of books in that kind of genre, one on Bunny Mellon. And anyway, Anderson wrote a book about the Astor family in follow-up to his book on the Vanderbilt family, of which he's one. And in the book, he also has a co-writer. I can't remember her name, but he has a co-writer. And in Anderson's book, he cited Meryl's book 39 times in 31 pages, which is a lot. It's a lot to lean on one source.
It's not plagiarism, but it's considered, as I heard somebody say, it's not honorable.
Yeah. So nothing illegal about it. It's just kind of lazy. So you
Catherine Howe is the
and the other complaint that Meryl had was most of these people are living. I mean, Anderson interviews people for a business. He ought to get out there and call them up and have the interviews himself and do some original research rather than completely rely on all of her. Many were personal anecdotes through her process of doing these interviews. She did 230 interviews, whereas apparently Anderson did 1. And so, you just don't want to rehash someone else's work.
Right. It's one thing to sort of cite it a few times as like a definitive treatise, but it's quite another to just kind of copy it and keep citing it. And because the thing is, he's a lot more famous than Meryl. And if he gets a, book to film offer or so on, because he is a Vanderbilt, because he's Anderson Cooper, where does that leave Meryl, who wrote this amazing book with so much elbow grease into it? She should definitely be recognized in some serious way. But in any event, she
was rightly upset.
Yeah, and Meryl is not a complainer. She is in no way. My God, I mean, for her to have even said that, I think it caught you by surprise. So in any event, Team Meryl. And by the way, her book too, Mrs. Astor Regrets, is a great read. I just listened to the audio on it because that's how I like to consume my books. Millions of Americans earn and use credit card rewards. A few big box retailers want to take those rewards away. What the? That's according to the Electronics Payment Coalition, a sponsor of today's episode. Rewards that you may like to use on your groceries or your school supplies, cash back to save on your gas and to grow small businesses, whatever you use that cash back for, and travel miles to make memories. The so-called Credit Card Competition Act would eliminate credit card rewards. No more travel miles, no more cash back. Visit handsoffmyrewards.com to learn more. And if you want to help them, tell your legislator to stand up to the retail giants and to support consumers and small businesses. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Buck, this is dark. This is, things are getting, it's a powder keg right now in these Arab countries, which don't give a damn about after the fact corrections or daytime pictures showing it was a parking lot, hundreds are not dead, and oh, by the way, it was Islamic Jihad, not the Israelis.
Yeah, the truth doesn't matter to the so-called Arab street when it comes to incidents like this. And anything that involves the Israelis, they believe what they want to believe, and they've been essentially trained, you could argue even brainwashed by their own media and some of their own regimes, depending on which Middle Eastern country we're talking about, to blame a whole range of things on the Israelis. The conspiracy theories stretching back for, longer than I've been alive in the Middle East about Israel are widely believed. And what you have here, I think, is a situation where there's a desperate attempt to try to create some immediate moral equivalency between Israel and Hamas, given that Hamas just murdered 1,400 people. It wasn't a military operation. It was a terrorist attack. They just decided to kill as many civilians as they possibly could. So this is a moment of, I think, clarity for the world. I do think this is civilization versus barbarism. But you're also seeing the depths of the anti-Semitism that exists in the Middle East and around the world, for that matter, and the desire on the part of the Western media as well, not just sort of, Arab satellite TV, to find some reason to look at Israel and say, you're on a similar moral plane to Hamas, or look at what you do here. They jumped on this. It was all based on Hamas sourcing initially, and that should have been the first red flag. Also, if Israel wanted to blow up hospitals in Gaza, it could blow up all the hospitals in Gaza in a matter of minutes. There's nothing that they would be able to do to stop it. In fact, they could blow up all the buildings in Gaza if they wanted to. They're trying to do strikes against Hamas and Hamas militants in leadership. There's no reason. It's implausible that the Israelis, in the opening moments before they've even got the ground invasion going, would hit one of the most sensitive civilian targets in all of Gaza City. But the media ran with it, and they ran with it because of their own ideological biases.
It's absolutely chilling. It's one thing to sort of put your thumb on the scale and get it a little wrong your way. We're used to the CNNs of the world doing that, not to mention BBC and so on. This is something entirely different. This is a dereliction of duty that's going to cost lives. They took an already powder kegged region and lit a match. And there's almost no accountability for it. Even the corrections that we're now seeing today are quiet and don't acknowledge the previously wrong reporting explicitly. It's the quiet scrubbing of the wrong headline and replacing it with one that's closer to right. Meanwhile, these citizens, our staffs at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut and the consulate, are the Israeli staffs at these consulates and embassies throughout the world, not to mention actual Israelis in our country and elsewhere, are in real danger as a result of all of this.
Well, absolutely. There's a recklessness to this kind of reporting, and you're seeing that, I think, with the further inflamed tensions in different cities around the world where people are obviously deeply passionate about this issue. One thing that hasn't changed, Megyn, I actually started my national security career, if you will, working in Middle East policy think tanks when I was in college. And I spent a summer working for Clinton's negotiator for the Camp David Accords, Ambassador Dennis Ross, as a researcher. So this was my first experience with all of this, stretching back now well over 20 years, was what was then called Arab-Israeli conflict. Now people usually say Israeli-Palestinian. And what you see is the narratives haven't changed at all. The sentiment hasn't changed at all. You have a lot of Middle Eastern countries use this issue, and a lot of Islamic communities around the world use this issue both as an excuse for anti-Semitism and also as an excuse for their own failures as states, speaking specifically in the Middle Eastern context. They all pretend to care so much. There's these endless lamentations on behalf of the Palestinians in moments like this. But what you also see is, what have those states been doing? I mean, Gaza is a desperately poor and nasty place to live. It has been for many years. All these countries, all these places where there are protests, you'd want to ask, where were these regimes, where were these individuals, these groups trying to do anything to help the Palestinian people beforehand? No, it's when it's useful for their hatred of Israel and Jews that all of a sudden you see this massive increase in concern for the Palestinians. You have all these other regional actors decide, oh my gosh, well, Israel needs to be proportionate. Israel can't overreact. Overreact? I mean, I remember what it was like after 9/11. I joined the CIA because of 9/11. People walking around saying, you better not overreact. We were looking at them like, we're going to war because that's the reaction that this demands. And that's exactly the mentality of the Israeli people, as it should be right now. So they're putting these artificial constraints, this idea that the Israelis are going to be able to fight a battle against a terrorist entity that isn't going to have any civilian casualties, that isn't going to cause any humanitarian issues. That's absurd. It's impossible. But it's also entirely necessary that Israel go in. And this time, it's different. They're not just trying to punish Hamas and say, stop it. If you don't knock this off, we're going to blow up all your arms caches. We're going to come after your leadership. I think this time around, it has to be a war of Hamas elimination, meaning destroying it as an entity, making it effectively so enfeebled that it can no longer threaten the state of Israel. So that's the escalation from the Israeli side, and it's deserved. It's necessary.
I want to get to the military aspect of this in 1 minute, but let's spend another minute first on the ne'er-do-wells who spread this lie and so far are sticking by it in many cases. Rashida Tlaib, I mean, the absolute worst. I read the tweet. Israel just bombed this hospital, killing 500 Palestinians, just like that. That's a lie. None of that appears to be correct. It wasn't an Israeli bomb, and it doesn't look like 500 Palestinians died at all. Doctors, children, patient, no, it does not appear that that's the case. It's still up. She hasn't taken it down. This isn't some tweeter. This is an elected U.S. congressperson. This person actually has a hand in saying what the laws and the U.S. policy will be around issues like this. And in fact, she's retweeting somebody as her evidence about, Israel's own spokesperson admitted they did it. And the person she's pointing to as Israel's spokesperson is some online influencer who is not an Israeli spokesperson at all. This is her. Like, it's chilling. And it comes obviously from her hatred for Israel. Then you've got the LA Times, Adam Elmarek, who's truly one of the worst. I mean, this guy, I feel like he's 2 steps away from just tweeting out in Arabic. He continued to tweet all last night. Remember the following: Israeli denials often fall apart. Hamas's bombs don't usually cause this much damage. It's important to report that. You're not doing it right unless you report that. Okay, did you think to pause and ask yourself, is that much damage accurate? Is the damage that we're being told was done by Hamas accurate? Adam, would you like to wait and find out? Then he says the burden is on Israel to demonstrate its extraordinary claim that it was a Hamas rocket, that a Hamas rocket, which usually kills maybe one at a time, somehow leveled a hospital. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This isn't all that difficult, folks. Now they've released actual audio tape of Hamas saying it was Islamic Jihad launching this rocket. Has this guy come out and said, my God, they actually did release very clear evidence that it was Islamic Jihad? No, he hasn't. All he said is, in the light of day, it appears that they hit a parking lot. That's it. That's all. This is so dishonest and dangerous, Buck.
Well, they wanted to use it in the moment, and it doesn't matter to the people who ran with it as an attack, as a cudgel, a weapon to bludgeon the Israelis' reputation with. It doesn't matter that it was false to them. They don't care. I mean, we often see this even with far more minor reports of terrorist attacks. Let's say in the U.S., they'll say we can never know the motives if they're concerned that it's a jihadist, a Muslim conducting an attack. If they think that it's possibly a white guy who's a Republican, they run with that right away, and it doesn't matter when they have to change the story later on, right? Meaning that if they have an opening to try to effectively jump to a conclusion that's useful politically to defame a whole group of people, right? It's always about, it's not just this person, it's all of them. So in this instance, it's not that Israel made a mistake, it's the Israelis are bad. That's the whole notion that they were trying to push by running with this right away.
The Genucel Dark Spot Corrector sale ends promptly this Sunday, and guess what ends with it? That crazy 70% discount. That's right, all gone Sunday night. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 right now. Don't delay one more minute. Here's Marsha from Austin, Texas, writing, my puffy eyes were gone after 24 hours and 2 treatments. Dark spots fading and definitely less laugh lines. A win all around. Take advantage of the Genucel most popular package, which now includes the Dark Spot Corrector, plus the classic Genucel bags and puffiness treatment and immediate effects product, all for 70% off. Try the best skincare in the world for yourself, completely risk-free. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 today and start looking years, even decades younger tomorrow. All orders upgraded to free shipping. See results day one and get compliments everywhere you go. Guaranteed. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60, Genucel.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. I want to just spend one more second on this Nina Farnia, Albany Law School professor. This is where I went to law school. Legal historian, sure, Nina, sure. Scholar of critical race theory, that's a contradiction in terms. Focusing on the role of modern imperialism in U.S. law and politics. I'm ashamed that my alma mater hired a woman on that. Modern imperialism in U.S. law and politics. What the hell is she doing there? What is it? That's not a thing. That is not a thing that you should be teaching in law school. She tweeted out in response to the mass murders, long live the Palestinian resistance and people of Gaza, tearing down the walls of colonialism and apartheid. As the Biden administration builds more walls at U.S. borders, the people of the world are rising up and tearing walls down. The Palestinians are a beacon for us all, a beacon. Now, she's talking about Hamas. They are Palestinians. She's talking about Hamas. They're a beacon for us. And now Jewish students, and there's a fair amount of Jewish population in Albany, this I can speak to firsthand, have to walk into this damn class and sit in front of this racist bigot and listen to her talk to them about colonialism and imperialism. How would you feel if you were a Jewish student listening to this? She has to be fired today. Fired. And so does this Yale professor, who's the worst of them all. You guys saw this woman in Yale, Zarina Grewal, who tweeted out, settlers are not civilians. This is not hard. In response to the argument that they're killing civilians, you're not a civilian if you're a settler. Meaning if you basically live in Israel, you're fair game. This woman too. And by the way, she doubled down when this became a national firestorm, which she tweeted on October 10th. She doubled down and said no government on earth is as genocidal as this settler colonial state. Evidence for it. And then she said, she goes, sigh, the playbook. This is about the dead, decapitated babies. They make up a lie. There's no evidence for it. Western journalists spread it like wildfire. Diplomats and politicians parrot it loudly. A narrative is built. The general public believes that the damage is done. And then they finally admit it never happened. So far, there are 30,000 signatures to get this woman, Zarina Grewal, fired. She needs to go today, Yale, today, not another moment. So can we talk about, forgive me, but this story of the murdered babies? because you guys have seen what I've seen, right? These left wingers, I don't even know what they are. They're anti-Semite left wingers, because I have a lot of left wing friends. They're not like this. Making a big thing out of whether babies were beheaded, and if so, just how many? What's the number? There's this guy at the LA Times. Hold on, I just had it up. I had it on my Twitter feed. He's at the LA Times. Give me 1 second and I'll find it. Here he is. Adam Elmarek, who, go back and look. I encourage the listeners, go back and look at him. It's at Adam, Elmahrek. Excuse me. Look at his X feed over the last few days. He hasn't posted now in 23 hours. And this is the last one. At this point, with so many allegations flying, every major media should pause and just report the following. There's been no verification of some of the most heinous allegations, including rape and baby beheadings. Skepticism in this moment is the brave and right thing to do. Now we've literally seen pictures of the murdered babies. If you go to Ben Shapiro's Twitter account today, you will see them if you can stomach them. Burned babies and what appears to be a beheaded child, or at least a child who's bleeding heavily. A baby. It can't be more than 3 months old in its crib, dead. And we've had the Jerusalem Post report directly that they have seen themselves the evidence. It's not third hand now, like they are reporting in the first person that they have seen it for themselves, and it's been confirmed by the Israeli government. But because the Israeli government does not want to release the pictures en masse for understandable reasons. Oh, and by the way, there's reporting today that they showed the pictures to Tony Blinken, our Secretary of State, who's over there right now. Showed him. This asshole has not updated his Twitter feed. Works for the LA Times, guys. Why? He can't. It's not because he can't stomach the horror. He doesn't want to be wrong. He wants to pour cold water on the story. Why? Because the guy's obviously a raging anti-Semite. Smug, I'm sorry, but there's no other conclusion. It's absolutely disgusting.
And also a significant part of the problem is that these newsrooms, the LA Times, the New York Times, the Washington Post, have essentially been captured by these 20-year-olds who are completely woke and in lockstep with this kind of ideology. They've all already been shepherded into believing, okay, well, riots and setting cities on fire is completely acceptable. And they've been completely bullied into now believing that, well, I guess murder has to be acceptable. And I guess, Israelis, like the Yale professor says that, well, settlers are not civilians. The newsrooms themselves have this kind of pressure where we've seen in the past, like when Tom Cotton wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying that it's time to send in the National Guard when there were riots all across this country. The person who okayed him writing an op-ed lost their job because the newsrooms themselves are now run by these woke 20-year-olds. And that's why you have people like that at the LA Times who are skeptical of the murder of civilians when there's evidence everywhere. And it's not just they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to upset their friends in the newsroom for sounding like, oh, you're not okay with this decolonization. That's what they're scared of.
I want to go back to the settlers aren't citizens thing for a second, because I think it's instructive of how pervasive this problem actually is with the Yale professor. That theory, like settlers aren't citizens or everyone is an enemy combatant, is Islamist ideology that you can map a through line from ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Islamic Jihad to Muslim Brotherhood. They invented this term called Jahiliyyah, which basically the theory was the citizens of a country are fair game for violent terror because they are complicit in what their government does. And so we can kill any innocent in the world. Everybody is fair game. So when they did a suicide bomb or put an IED next to a car, it's all justified under this Islamist ideology. And now we have professors in the United States who believe that same ideology. It is disgusting.
And also specifically about that professor at Yale, she's the professor of American Studies and Religious Studies, and gave her location on her profile in America in a collapsing empire. So you have someone who
it's anti-capitalism, man. These people hate civilization. That's really what it is when it gets down below all the bullshit and the land acknowledgements and the stuff that they usually tweet. Underneath that is they just want the destruction of Western civilization and capitalism. It's simple as that.
Honestly, it's like BLM, which, its chapters now have put out, that disgusting BLM Chicago post earlier this week showing the paragliders waving the Palestinian flag and saying, yeah, that's it. Yeah, you go. They were celebrating it. Then they got some blowback, including from many Black Americans saying, what the hell are you doing? And then somebody went to the national chapter of Black Lives Matter and they refused to condemn the statements. Apparently they have no problem with it. They refused to condemn the statements because of what you just mentioned. Patrisse Cullors, the woman who was one of the 3 co-founders of BLM, was on camera just a couple of years ago calling for the end of Israel. The end. So this is like all the ideology is tied together. Quick update. This guy who I just told you about, this reporter for LA Times, he just tweeted, must be watching the show. Confusion persists over the Hamas beheaded babies reporting. CNN now saying confusion persists. CNN now saying an Israeli official has walked back the claim. That's not true. I've been following this closely. No Israeli official has walked back the claim. One guy said, I'm not going to release the pictures and I'm not going to get into the numbers. That's it. He did not walk anything back. And by the way, we have an IDF soldier who's first person reporting, not to mention Secretary Blinken, but forget all that and stand by. Then he says, meanwhile, the Jerusalem Post says it has seen the photos. Okay, so yes, they have. You might want to consider looking at them yourself, LA Times reporter, because Benjamin Netanyahu is now tweeting them out. Benjamin Netanyahu is now tweeting out the photos of the bloody dead babies. That's what it's come to. These insane lunatics. And honestly, now this asshole's going to go back to his Twitter account and say, well, I don't know if it was 40. Well, was that baby actually beheaded? Or did it just have its neck slit so far to the back that there's something wrong with these people. They're walking amongst us. These people in the LA Times newsroom are working with this asshole. They're and many of them are Jewish. Now they have to go to work next to this guy. This is insane.
It is insane. It's absolutely disgusting. And, there's this guy on Twitter, Adam Rubenstein. I don't know if you follow him. I encourage you to do it if you don't. But he put it very, very well. He said, I think if your best argument is that the dead babies were only murdered, not beheaded, you've not only lost the argument, but also your mind.
Guess what costs Americans about $11 billion a year? The flu season, which is now. Kids get sick and they miss school. Parents miss work and then get sick too. Now you can add in COVID, whatever variant we happen to be on. That is where EnviroCleanse comes in. The new science in home air purification. EnviroCleanse captures and destroys flu and COVID viruses from your home, plus bacteria, toxins, mold, and allergens. EnviroCleanse technology is so powerful, it was chosen to purify the air systems on board Navy ships and subs. EnviroCleanse helps keep our servicemen and women healthier. And EnviroCleanse is the only home air purifier that promises you and your family better health by helping clear your home of cold, flu, and COVID viruses. We got you a 10% discount. To try it out if you like, go to ekpure.com and use promo code Megyn. That's promo code Megyn at ekpure.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.